the map. Here we go. People coming out. Time for the briefing. What nonsense. Nothing's happening. We gotta skip ahead. Oh, look out now. General DOJ. Chief of Staff General. Somebody's dead. Are we bombing Iran? No time like this. I figured since I'm a wartime president, we might as well just go to war. Come on, everybody. I must know what I'm talking about. Look how bored these guys get. Here it comes, ladies and gentlemen. Ready for the big one. Are you ready now? Here we come, people. Wait, don't let him talk. Just not kosher. Here we go. Now let's see where this is going. Oh, no, yeah. Hello, guten Tag. Reisen bitte, whatever. I don't really speak German, but I can fake it as much as anyone. I'm no Werner von Braun, but we'll do what we can. Yeah, he tweeted something about if Iran tries a sneak attack, we're gonna do something. Yeah, this is the April Fools. He's just gonna come out and go, so since everybody's gonna die anyways, figured I'd just declare nuclear war. I mean, what's half and half?
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Are you as excited as I am? Pink tie today. Is that to contrast the generals? What's happening?
So, America continues to wage all-out war to defeat the
Say war, and I got the war guys. Get it? It's a war.
virus, this horrible, horrible virus.
Horrible, horrible. I said it twice, so you know what it means. I mean what I say, and I say what I'm not mean. Pelosi's mean. Hi, Cindy. Hello, Canada. Hello, Canada. Hola, Mexico and Brazil and Guatemala and 你好中国 and 我的中国的朋友你好，很高兴认识你 and to our Japanese friends, konbanwa. I think it's nighttime there, or konnichiwa if I've got my time wrong, or ohayo gozaimasu. And to the French, bonjour, ça va bien? To our all right, I'll
See how
get on with it.
terrible
I don't want to greet every person in the world if Trump's just going to bomb them all out of existence. Why did I bother to learn Czech?
it is, especially when you look at the numbers from yesterday.
Yeah, we know. Remember the numbers yesterday when
And we
everything was fine?
explained why we're extending our nationwide guidelines to slow the spread
We know.
for 30 days. Together, we have the power to save countless lives.
I got the power.
We're attacking the virus on every front with social distancing, economic support for our workers, rapid medical.
So far, is that attacking the virus? Anybody attacking the virus we're attacking it by staying away. We're attacking in full retreat. It's a brand new thing. I've read it in the Art of the Deal translation of Art of War. What you want to do is attack in full retreat. What?
intervention and very serious innovation and banning
Jesus, he's already falling asleep and he just started.
dangerous foreign travel that threatens the health of our people, and we did that
Foreigners, dirty foreigners. I kept the dirty foreigners out. Give me credit for keeping the dirty foreigners out.
early, far earlier than anyone would have thought,
Oh, anybody would have thought possible.
and way ahead of anybody else. In this time of need, I know that every American will do their patriotic duty and help
I'm wearing a diaper so I can do my patriotic duty right now.
us.
This looks like a weird open mic where, like, he saved all the seats for his friends and they didn't show up. See, what I'm going to do is, because my face is orange, I'll use orange paper to save the seats for my friends. And I'll spread them out through the crowd so the laughs will be consistent and they won't realize that it's just coming from one group.
To achieve a total victory.
Total victory. See the stripes on these guys' arms?
As governments and nations focus on the coronavirus, there's a growing threat that cartels, criminals, terrorists, and other malign actors will
take advantage of it by using hydroxychloroquine, mixing it with methamphetamines, and selling it on the open market, marked as in boxes of green Sudafed.
Try to exploit the situation for their own gain. And
so today we're going to talk to you how we're just going to start shooting people at the border. What are you going to do?
We must not let that happen. We will never let that happen.
Why would anybody expect you would let that happen? What other president would let that happen? What are you talking about?
Today, the United States is launching
Operation Wet Foot.
Enhanced counter narcotics operations in the Western Hemisphere to protect.
Apparently, people are trying to sneak bogus, generic hydroxychloroquine across the border, and they're trying to give people drugs, you know, like ecstasy, so that they won't do social distancing. They'll just rub up against each other. And I have basically the entirety of the military establishment standing behind me. Guys, spread out.
Protect the American people from the deadly scourge.
Scourge. Jesus Christ, man.
Of illegal narcotics.
It's pronounced scourge.
Narcotics. We must not let the drug cartels exploit the pandemic.
First, you get the money. Then you get the hydroxychloroquine. Then you get the woman, and then you get the power.
To threaten American lives.
Say hello to my 6 little friends.
In cooperation with the 22 partner nations, U.S. Southern Command will increase surveillance, disruption, and seizures of drug shipments and provide additional support for.
Apparently some bullshit got out that there are some approved treatments available in Mexico. I don't know who said that out loud, but suddenly all the cartels are complaining that nobody wants heroin. They just want Tamiflu.
For eradication efforts, which are going on right now at a record pace. We're deploying additional Navy.
Why would they be going on at a record pace? When you what?
Navy destroyers, combat ships, aircraft, and helicopters.
We've got ships patrolling the Mexican border right now. There's a bunch of people out there trying to keep it from tipping over.
Coast Guard.
I sent the Comfort and the Mercy.
Cutters and Air Force surveillance aircraft, doubling our capabilities in the region.
And halving our intelligence.
Very importantly, our forces are fully equipped.
They got plenty of ammunition. We're gonna drop. We got so many ventilators. We're gonna airdrop ventilators and crush drug dealers from the sky. Hey man, look out! They're dropping ventilators on us. Run for your life.
With personnel, protective equipment, and we've taken additional
personnel protective equipment. Personnel protective equipment.
Safety measures to ensure our troops remain healthy.
All of our troops have a ventilator. We got so many ventilators. I don't know what we're teaching them to use them as combat weapons.
Secretary Mark Esper, Attorney.
He's here.
General Bill Barr.
Let me list the guys who are standing behind me. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the WWE. They're just all going to start fighting on the stage.
National Security Advisor.
Hit it, guys.
Robert O'Brien will provide more details. In addition, I'm going to have General Milley, who's done an incredible job. So,
now that we've cut narcotics coming across the border, it's really hard to get meth in green Sudafed boxes. It's a bitch.
Many ways. Say a few words, and also with us our Chief of Naval Operations, Admiral Gilday, who you know, I think you know.
You should know him, but if you don't know him, you're gonna know him. You're gonna love him. Here he is. Please start roasting these assholes while you're up there. The winner of the Ed Asner. Hey, Captain Flat Top, why don't you come over here? I need something to set my drink on. I kid Nipsey Russell.
And Commandant of the Coast Guard.
Commandant. Is Der Commissar coming, or is that, or did you tell him not to turn around?
Admiral Schultz. So I'm going to ask Mark to start, and then we can go. And after that, we're going to take questions as it pertains to this,
But I don't want any other questions about the number of dead people.
and then we'll go
I
on.
just want questions about how we're going to shoot drug dealers from helicopters. I put Sarah Palin in charge of it. She's using her wolf gun.
To phase two, which is the virus
Yeah, it's Commandant Lazard Mahoney.
itself.
Who put glue in Trump's shampoo?
Okay, thank you. Please, Mark.
Well, thank you, Mr. President, and good afternoon, everyone.
Here's a map of the United States. Here's the ship that we have poised.
I appreciate the opportunity to be here today as we make this very
Yeah, we all do, because we might be dead soon from a disease you didn't take care of. But go ahead.
important announcement. At a time
Why? Why is it important? Honest to God, stopping the drug trade coming across the southern border, or indeed through ports of entry where most of it comes in through, should actually be part of your normal part of your job. Why are we supposed to be impressed? Why?
when the nation
Tell me how you doing the job you're supposed to be doing is special,
and the Department of Defense are focused on protecting the American people from the spread
unlike normal.
of the coronavirus, we also remain vigilant to the many other threats our country faces.
Yo, you mean like all the doctors who are treating people with broken arms and cancer and all that stuff while they're dealing with the fact that they don't have enough ventilators and they don't have enough respirators and they don't have enough masks and they don't have enough gowns. They don't. But you mean like they're doing? It's a war. Bring out the generals.
Today, at the President's direction, the Department of Defense, in close cooperation with our interagency partners, began enhanced counter-narcotics operations in the Eastern Pacific Ocean and the Caribbean Sea.
Instead of, hey guys, we got all these ships sitting around. We might as well, you know how we were doing narcotics surveillance and disruption. Yeah, we're going to do more of that and call it enhanced. Well, we don't really have to do more. We're pretty much, well, we got a lot of ships sitting around, and we're not going to bomb Iran. We might as well shoot somebody.
This initiative is part of the administration's whole-of-government approach to combating the flow of illicit drugs into the United States and protecting the American people from their scourge.
And Esper, did you really? Did you have to do it? Did you have to correct the president's pronunciation right there? Do you think that thought's floating through his head right now? Excuse me, it's scourge.
I want to thank all of our partners in this effort, to include the United States Coast Guard, the
You know all the departments that normally do this stuff?
Department of Homeland Security, the Drug Enforcement Agency,
Yeah, weird that they'd be involved.
the Department of Justice,
Hmm.
and members of the intelligence community for their tremendous support and cooperation.
Really? Because I thought we don't believe that he knows more than the generals and that we distrust intelligence. Hmm. So you're telling me that what they were saying about coronavirus and COVID-19 in January wasn't believable, but what they're saying about meth and coke and heroin is.
To conduct these enhanced operations, the President has directed the deployment of additional ships, aircraft, and security forces to the United States Southern Command area of responsibility.
We got all these things sitting around. We got all these extra bullets. If we don't use them, they won't be in the.
Included in this force package are Navy destroyers and littoral combat ships, Coast Guard cutters, P-8 patrol aircraft, and
Basically all the shit that we paid for in his ramp up of the military because we don't actually need it. Got to put it to some use. Take it down there and shoot a couple of speedboats full of crack.
elements of an Army Security Force Assistance Brigade. These
Mr. President, we can just pull them over and arrest them and seize the money on board. Nah, blow it up.
additional forces will nearly double our capacity to conduct counter-narcotics operations in the region. Additionally, 22 partner nations have joined us in this fight, bringing with them a variety of intelligence and operations capabilities needed to defeat these criminal organizations.
It's the same group that's been around for. That's what. Again, none of this started yesterday.
Last
You know
year,
what's enhanced about this? The PR campaign. Let's just keep doing what we're doing and what we were doing. Wait for it. We'll do the same thing, except now what's different is we'll talk about it and warn the cartels that it's coming, huh? Who thought about that?
Year alone, United States Southern Command's operations resulted in the seizure of over 280 metric tons of drugs, much of which was designated for shipment to America.
Hydroxychloroquine is very heavy.
While this was an incredible achievement, there is much more work to be done.
You really, drug dealers keep making more drugs and keep trying to sell them to the people? That happens?
Transnational criminal organizations continue to threaten our security.
Ooh, transnational, I like that. Sounds very, it sounds very LGBT. Just like we got to stop the transnationals. Next thing you know, they're gonna want to compete in sports.
Security by smuggling cocaine, fentanyl, methamphetamines, and other narcotics across our borders.
Yeah, this is. How about this? Maybe last year, maybe 2 years ago.
These drug traffickers put our communities at risk and destroy lives.
Yeah. Again.
Every year, tens of thousands of Americans die from drug overdose, and thousands more suffer the harmful effects of addiction.
When did that shit start?
Furthermore, corrupt actors like...
Hey, look, don't talk about me like I'm not right here.
The illegitimate Maduro regime in Venezuela rely...
See, this is what we're doing. This is what this is about. This is military intervention in South America. So basically, the generals have talked Trump into doing this as a anti-drug exercise so that they can push back against Russian forces in South America, you think? You think this is these three of these dudes up here have found a way to bullshit the president into doing the right thing?
On the profits derived from the sale of narcotics to maintain their oppressive hold on power. The Venezuelan people continue to suffer tremendously due to Maduro's criminal control over the country.
And it's funny. And so we're going to surround the Venezuela with ships?
Drug traffickers are seizing on this lawlessness by increasing their illicit activities.
Oh, really? They're not increasing their legit activities?
We might
hey man, I was going to open a Hobby Lobby as a front, but once I started, you start looking at all that yarn, it's really inviting, man. So
let's do more to
I'm quitting MS-13 to go into knitting full time.
prevent these drugs from arriving at our shores. These enhanced counter-narcotics operations that are now underway will further disrupt the flow of illicit drugs to America, deny our adversaries the financial resources they depend on, and build the capacity of our partner nations throughout the region.
Hey, I got a good idea. Somebody told me that like 4 or 5 times the number of people who died in Vietnam are going to die because of this thing. So since we're doing that anyways, why don't we do some of the same drug stuff we did during Vietnam? We'll intercept a lot of these things. We'll redirect the drugs, use them to sell weapons to, somebody get George Bush on the phone.
I want to thank President Trump for his leadership and support.
Not Jeb, the dumb one.
To this critical mission. This is particularly important time for this operation to begin.
No. What, did fentanyl just start?
As nations around the world shift their focus inward to deal with the coronavirus pandemic, many criminal organizations are attempting to capitalize on this crisis.
Really? Yeah, I think I'm looking at one.
The enhanced operations we are announcing today will keep the pressure.
It's wearing a pink tie. It's just to your right. Arrest him, quick. He's getting away. Nah, he isn't.
On these
You can catch him.
criminal groups and protect the American people from the devastation caused by the flow of illegal drugs into our country.
And now a word from Nancy Reagan.
Mr. President, thank you for
Thank you, Mr. President, for doing something now that you should have done 3 years ago.
your leadership as we begin this important operation. While the men and women of the United States military work hard here at home to fight the coronavirus, we continue to take action around the world.
Except when it comes to our 6 sailors on a ship and not letting them disembark and get treatment.
To defend
We're basically just turning the Navy into a bunch of cruise ships where people can't leave.
our great country. Thank you, and I'd like to invite General Milley.
Well, I don't care what you would like to do. Millie's coming anyways. Go for it, Millie. Give him the flat top.
Thank you, Secretary, for those words, and thank you, Mr. President, for your leadership. And I want to publicly thank Admiral Craig Fowler, the commander of U.S. Southern Command out of Miami, for leading this operation, which is underway effective today.
How long before you think Trump says it's funny, but he's the leader of Southern Command, but he doesn't have an accent?
And also Admiral Gilday, the Chief of Naval Operations, Admiral Schultz, for their contributions to this from their services. There's thousands of sailors Coast Guardsmen, soldiers, airmen, Marines involved in this operation.
Good people. Yep, we love them. Not the point.
We came upon some intelligence some time ago.
Some time ago? Some time ago? You mean 2 years ago?
That the drug cartels, as a result of COVID-19, were going to try to take advantage of the situation. And
That's not intelligence. That's obvious. Like, what do you think they're going to do?
try to infiltrate additional drugs into our country.
Really?
As we know, there's 70,000 Americans.
Yeah, they pick now when everybody's shutting down travel. They're just going to come across porous parts of the border now because the ports of entry are being watched because of COVID.
On an average annual basis to drugs. That's unacceptable. We're at war with COVID-19. We're at war with terrorists. And
We're at war with the American people. We're at war with this podium. I'm at war with his tie. I mean, honestly, what is he thinking?
We're at war with the drug.
Pink? We're a bunch of generals. It's like I don't know. It's like he has to counteract all the masculinity with something feminine. I can't get it.
Cartels
He
as
insisted on it.
well. This is the United States military. You will not penetrate this country. You will not get past Jump Street. You're not
No, 21 Jump Street. We've got Johnny Depp on the scene. He's going to be down there going, I think everyone needs to get across. What is it?
going to come in here and kill
You will not get through Jump Street.
additional Americans. And we will marshal whatever assets are required
Mm-hmm.
to prevent your entry into this country
Into our assets.
to kill Americans. So right now, the Navy has marshaled additional Gray Hull ships from both PACOM and UCOM and for the Naval Fleet at Norfolk. And they are set sail already, and they are in the Caribbean right now.
Awesome. Great. Super.
In addition to that, there's 10 Coast Guard cutters, and there's special
He's got to bring the death rate down because of fentanyl overdoses. Because the death rate, they're marking the fact that the death rate's going to be higher than the lowest estimate. And if they can lower the overall deaths from other stuff, which will happen automatically because of car accidents not happening because there's fewer people on the street, and elective surgeries going south, bad medical interactions that happens 100,000 of those a year. If you can tamp that number down, then the deaths from COVID make the overall deaths of people in April look more normal to everything. So they're trying to stop the extra fentanyl from coming in. Yes. Basically, this is massaging numbers. They could do this all the time, by the way.
operations forces and security force assistance brigades, along with Air Force reconnaissance aircraft. The bottom line is you're not going to get through. Now is not the time to try to
I
penetrate
love when he talks all generally. Look at him. He's so macho.
the United States with
He
illegal
doesn't have my croquet badge that I got in military academy. But, you know, you can't have it all, General.
drugs
Maybe that's why you listen to me.
to kill Americans. With the United States military, we will defend our country regardless of the cost.
If we can't punch the virus, we'll find something to punch.
Thank you, Mr.
I am a hammer. Welcome to the world of nails.
President. Thank you, Secretary.
By the way, that dude's totally fine. He's a professional. You're giving him something that he can do. I'm sure he's very excited about it. If you see him at any of the other meetings, he's completely embarrassed by Trump's nonsense. But this is a charade.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to melt.
And thanks for your decisive leadership as we confront this unprecedented challenge posed by coronavirus.
Coronavirus. I mean,
And I'd like to thank you for your support for this important initiative and thank
what's he not going? What president are you going to, Mr. President? Shit ton of new drugs coming across the border. They're taking advantage of the fact that we're fighting this, and they're going to bring more drugs in. And what president ever goes, you know what? Fuck them. Like what? Lyndon Johnson? I don't think we should even bother. I mean, if we could clear out some of the wheat from the chaff, this might be a good thing.
all of
I'd like to thank you, Mr. President, for doing the bare minimum.
the Secretary of Defense and all the services for taking on this important initiative.
This is the military coming to him and going, "Hey, Mr. President, while your diaper is filling."
Obviously, during this crisis, we're all focused above all else on COVID-19. But at the same time,
No, we're not. Cops, for example, are not focused on COVID-19. They're trying to avoid it and protect themselves when they go do stuff, but they're dealing with a lot of things like shootings, stabbings, domestic violence,
our law
criminals that will continue to, like, law enforcement is continuing to enforce law. That's their priority.
Enforcement and national security work must go forward, protecting the American people.
I know a lot of people thought we would just kind of put everything else on hold like we did with EPA regulations.
From the full array of threat.
Yeah, we don't want fentanyl getting in and poisoning our people when that's up to our corporations, when we just rescinded all the EPA rules.
For the Department of Justice, one of our highest priorities must remain destroying the Mexican cartels.
Whoa, that's big sassy talk.
Their
Look at that. Oh, I love the sound of that. Say destroy.
trafficking is largely responsible.
Did you see him stiffen when they said that? Look at us.
For the deaths, as we all know now, of 70,000 Americans a year. And
Those are like flu numbers.
also the costs of this don't count the destroyed families, the destroyed lives.
Fentanyl is largely coming in packages from China. Has been for the whole time. As a matter of fact, drug cartels are trying to move away from heroin because it's laced with fentanyl towards meth and coke simply so that their customer base doesn't die.
Draining
Do these guys read?
of our national treasure as state budgets are crushed by the burden that this narcotic trafficking causes. The president has made clear that we are in this fight against the cartels to win, and that we are not
As opposed to
interested in half measures.
okay, so what does winning look like?
And that the threat posed by the cartel is not just a law enforcement threat, but a national security threat as well. And in December, building on your success with the Mexican president in forging a cooperative relationship in the area of
getting Mexico to pay for the wall. Tell them Mexico's paying for the wall. It doesn't have to be true. It's a magic podium. You can say anything.
immigration. You asked me to go down and meet with the president, Lopez Obrador, and our Mexican counterparts to see.
It's pronounced Labrador, and he's a scruffy little fella. They let me play with him in a room while I was there.
If we could also establish a more comprehensive and coordinated effort with the Mexicans in confronting.
Yeah, I'm not. Can I rotate when you say collaborate with Mexicans? That's gonna make the base nervous.
The cartels. And we've had some successful visits and discussions, and currently have an array of activities underway
Do we have a ray? Can we use a ray on them? Can we blast them with a space ray?
against the cartels. And we anticipate, along with the Mexicans, that these are going to bear fruit in the months ahead. But it quickly became clear.
Fruit? You're not talking about those transnationals coming across the border, are you? Oh no, transnational Mexican fruits. This is terrible. I hear you can get boll weevils from those.
That we can obtain the most immediate results, the best bang for the buck.
Use those. I like that. That's it.
Where we increase the assets involved in interdiction on both the Pacific and Atlantic side of Mexico and the Central American countries. For years, the cartels have been using these sea routes to take the cocaine up from principally Colombia.
So we need to build. This is why I'm announcing today we're going to build the Atlantic Wall and the Pacific Wall. America is now a gated community. We have to. We need a wall around Florida and like a little wall around Florida, man. That's what.
Now also out of
Yeah, that's through ports of entry and through boats. Is why your whole bullshit about the land border where it's impossible to traverse.
Venezuela. And these sea routes on both coasts have become the primary means of
Yeah, well, I don't know about that. See that? He doesn't even believe the bullshit they're selling right there. I don't know. I don't know.
cocaine up to the United States. Because of the
Really?
superb work done by the Defense Department and our intelligence community, we know
Thank you, Joe Carter. Appreciate it. Muchas gracias.
exactly.
That's a Castilian Spanish. That's not a Mexican accent, but it's best I can do. Honestly, I never learned Spanish.
Most of the time where these traffickers are at sea. But have been up till now, significantly limited in our ability to interdict because of the numbers of
Stop saying interdict. I can hear Pence storming in from the other room.
The assets we have deployed.
Don't say asset either. Don't say interdict and assets in the same thing. It's like trigger words.
Prior today, this limitation meant we could only intercept a fraction of the traffickers and the various boats that were detected. This will now double our capacity, and we are talking about
Doubling. So you could only do a fraction. What fraction? A fourth? Half? Because if you double a quarter of them, that's a half, that's a fraction.
hundreds of tons of cocaine now. We're now in a position to
Can I just get a little off the top? Bring in, I want to see a sample.
seize. So this is going to radically improve our interdiction efforts and put tremendous pressure, we think, on the cartels. And the effort that Southcom is undertaking is going to save lives by taking drugs off the street. Last week,
As long as it isn't hydroxychloroquine and pop rocks and Clorox.
I announced the unsealing of charges of narco-terrorism, drug trafficking, and other crimes.
Thank you, Patricia. Appreciate that.
Against the former Maduro regime, 16 members of that regime, and their involvement in trafficking of 200.
They're just justifying this news from a couple days ago. This is a friggin' sales pitch about Maduro.
A lot of that comes by sea, as I discussed at that time, but also because of the pressure we're applying by our sea interdiction, they are trying to establish an air route out of Venezuela up into Central America, which is one of the reasons we're trying to move firmly against that.
Basically declaring war on South America. That's what's happening. Because if we're saying that the leaders of those countries are effectively equal to or in total league with the cartels, we're moving on Venezuela now. I mean, if those are your arguments, the enemy of my enemy's friend is my target.
Corrupt regime. This drug war has gone on for many decades. And
Really?
at times in the past, we've had great success and great results, and at times we've taken our eye off the ball. Fortunately, not in this administration.
No, fortunately not. This administration just presided over the largest arc of fentanyl and entering into the system of any presidency.
I'm grateful that you, Mr. President, have brought focus
We're so lucky that you're allowing us. You are now the president from clear and present danger, breaking the law in public.
to this fight and the determination to use whatever tools are necessary to win the fight. The cartels have to be defeated, both for the people of this country and for the people of Mexico. And
Yeah, no problem with that. But this is not what's happening. This isn't about Mexican drug cartels. This is about Venezuela. This is about we're surrounding a country right now.
Venezuela. So I'd like to thank you again, Mr. President, Secretary Esper, for providing the wherewithal required to help win this war against.
Oh, you mean intelligence gathering? The stuff you said was bullshit?
The cartels and others who seek to send illicit drugs.
Look, intelligence is only fake when it's about Russia. Every other thing they tell me is totally true. Totally true, totally true.
Into our country. And with that, I'd like to introduce Ambassador O'Brien.
Thank you.
Thank you, General. Thank you, Mr. President. Today's action is another example of the bold leadership
Of this president, my God, Pence couldn't be here, so we all had to divide up the ass kissing.
President Trump and his commitment to protecting the homeland against threats that seek to destabilize the United States.
So he dreamed up this idea that the DEA and the Coast Guard and the military should work together to stop drugs from coming in from South America. Oh, Reagan who?
And our Western Hemisphere. The uncontrolled flow of illegal drugs into the United States poisons our communities, fuels the dangerous epidemic of addiction, and threatens the safety and security of all Americans. The impressive
what
U.S.
we are
Navy
launching today is what we call, and I came up with it, really, if you think about it, it is basically, if you think about it as a term, and I maybe someone said this before, but I think I'm the first person to say it. You're going to hear it a lot. It's going to be the new hot term, war on drugs. You're going to hear that a lot. You're going to hear war on drugs. That is now, I'm declaring war on drugs right now, and I think it'll work because Nobody's ever tried it.
Navy, Coast Guard, Army, Marine Corps, Air Force, and interagency operation will address a range of threats to our national security posed by narco traffickers
Thank you, Tess.
and narco terrorists. It will reduce illicit financial support for the drug traffic
Narco terrorists are those people who insist that I binge watch Narcos.
for drug trafficking that provides the corrupt Maduro regime in Venezuela and other bad actors with the
Look, I'm sitting right here. You don't have to be insulting.
funds necessary to conduct their malign activities. Under President Trump's leadership, we will continue
You bet. Say how good I'm doing.
to execute our maximum
Jesus, this is just a fellatio fest. They're just lining up.
pressure policy to counter the Maduro regime's malign activities, including drug trafficking. And this operation will help to choke off the funds that go to that corrupt regime.
Ew.
Maduro, narco terrorists, and criminals should make no mistake that even as we are working
I mean, like China, because that's where all the fentanyl comes from. What?
around the clock to
You're not bringing that up. That's weird.
fight the spread of coronavirus, we will continue to execute the president's counter-narcotic strategy.
You mean the part where you ignore it coming in on regular boats with shipments of goods from China? And
We're working on a number of important national security priorities as we face this public health crisis. The United States will continue to combat disinformation and fake news about this virus. We will work with the world's largest oil producers
you mean fake news about drugs and this virus? Like hydroxychloroquine?
address volatility in global
You know what made them think of this whole thing? You know why this came up? Because there was a news story 2 days ago that heroin dealers were selling a type of heroin, and they were calling it COVID-19. That was a news story. That's how this all started. And by the way, they'll move some more ships down there or whatever, but they'll catch the same people.
oil markets. We will always protect our
Like that old thing in the 50s when they were looking for drug dealers in the 50s, and they had all these. They had so many undercover people in the FBI playing drug addicts that they had a town where there was one drug addict and 50 undercover FBI agents all almost arresting each other.
servicemen and servicewomen around the world, including in Iraq and Afghanistan.
But the people that are on the Navy members who are on the service members who are on the ship who have COVID-19, yeah, screw them.
I want the American people to know that President Trump and Vice President Pence and their administration are working tirelessly
Really? Because he sounds tired.
every day to protect the health and well-being
Sounds pretty tired when he talks.
of Americans and respond to the coronavirus.
Yeah, get a shot of how tireless he is. Look at me, I'm doing my water.
Our adversaries should take note, however,
Mommy,
this
say
president has a
nice thing.
clear-eyed focus on America's national security interest. And let me be clear, it
Why start now?
would be a mistake with terrible consequences for any adversary to attempt to do us harm during this health crisis
For this, you will pay a terrible price.
or ever for that matter. Thank you very
Forever,
much.
for that
Thank
matter.
you, Mr.
While I'm at it.
Okay.
Super good. That was really good. Especially the part where you said I came up with the war on drugs, and it was my idea, and I'm a genius.
So do we have any questions on this? Because this group is going to go back to work. We're going to leave.
Really, unlike the ones who are working on COVID-19 that you keep up there dragging ass for 2 hours, the guys that are going to be shooting, like at boats from the sky.
Question either for you, Mr. President, or Secretary Esper. What has changed that
Nothing.
is allowing these
More ships.
assets
They
to
just moved stuff.
be deployed now, whereas General Barr said in the past they were not available?
Well, for a long time, we've had a lot of drugs coming into our country, and it's not that it's increased. We've probably got it down a little bit, but
So it's less of an emergency than it was before. But I mean, honestly, after the day I had yesterday, the only thing I got going for me is this whole. I had to find a reason to drag the generals out.
it's still a tremendous number. Families are being ruined, lives are being ruined.
Yeah, by fentanyl from China.
It's an incredible thing, especially as you're at this position. You would never believe it. I see things that nobody would believe. I see reports that nobody would believe.
No, we would believe them. We see them. Like, this is not surprise news. What do you think? Like,
So-
who thinks that? like drug shipments are shocking.
I met with the group behind me, all of them, and we said, what do you think we can do? And they think they can interdict. They think that we can stop
Interdict?
it before it gets to the shores. And
Yeah, that's always what they try to do.
they're coming from all over the place.
That's true. Especially where?
And we have
Especially where?
incredibly talented people.
Yes, we do.
So I think I'm going to.
Why? So if they're incredibly talented and the number is down, it was worse before. How come you never introduced a program like this before?
Let Mark just give him a little
Mark, explain this bullshit again. You're supposed to make me sound good.
bit of an answer to that.
This is how I'm supposed to avoid questions on the death toll.
But we just want to see if we can stop a good percentage of the drugs coming
Really? That's weird.
into our country.
Sure thing. Thanks, Mr. President. So first of all, it's simply a matter of prioritization. The President's given us very clear guidance on what's important to him and protecting the American people. And as some
He just decided that we've had enough fentanyl deaths. I think we're good.
of you know, I began a review months ago looking at all of our different geographic combatant commands and looking at where we can free up time, money, and resources to put into other endeavors.
Right. So all these extra ships and everything that we've had that have been sitting over here in dry dock, haven't been deployed to the Persian Gulf or any of that area. All of a sudden, you were like, well, you know what? I've been reading, and these are very secret papers. But it turns out that a lot of narcotics are coming in from South America and by boat. Guys, do you know about this? Hey?
In this case, we had scrutinized our inventory fairly closely. The Chairman Milley did a
A
great
bunch of boats sitting around doing nothing, and we didn't have anybody. We tried to open a couple of wars, but nobody was going for it. So
deal of work on this with Admiral Gilday, and we felt that there was
you
no
can't run these ships up the Mississippi and open fire on, on the Women's March like we wanted to. So we thought,
risk to the fleet, to our operations, to free up, in this case, naval ships. We also freed up
those
aircraft
are the ones with belly buttons.
and other assets to apply them to this presidential priority.
Did he just call me an asshat? Wait a minute.
And of course, the Coast Guard did the same. So it was a very good operation. We feel this is very important to the American people and completely in line with the president's direction.
And how long will you be able to keep up this operational tempo?
Well, it depends. What we're going
Forever.
to do is we're going to run it for some matter of time. I'm not going to disclose how long that will be, and then we will assess it. And then
Until we need to make another press conference. Basically, till then.
we'll make adjustments from there. We may increase, we may decrease, we may sustain as is. But this will be an assessment we will.
As is. So we're going to have a permanent military presence in the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans around every South American country. And we're going to what? Shoot boats out of the water that go into what?
We'll do as an
What?
interagency team. We'll report back to the president, and we'll
All right.
take further guidance from there.
And we didn't do it for this reason, but it'll also have an impact on the virus because
Why?
we have people trying to get in.
Sick people. Sick people. Not only are they rapists and murderers, but they're diseased.
So not only drugs, but now we have a new phenomena, and that's at least for the next, hopefully, short period of
So if
time.
I see any of these, if anybody on a raft of coconuts is coughing, I've just said strafe bomb them.
The virus, so we'll be able to have an impact on that too, please.
Because there are now ships full of sick people trying to sneak into the country that way.
Yeah, Mr. President, could you expand on that a little bit because you tie it to COVID-19, saying that these drug cartels.
You have to understand. You know how when you think of Halloween, you think of masks? It's kind of like that.
We're
They go
taking
together. Like this is the mask, and COVID-19 is Halloween. See what I'm saying?
advantage of the situation, of this pandemic. How exactly?
Well, because we're focused on so many other parts of the country and even parts of the world. And all of a sudden, areas where we had it clamped down pretty tight. In fairness, the wall is up to about 160 miles already.
Repaired, same place.
And any areas where
You can build a ladder to go over it. It costs like what, $1.50 at Home Depot, and there are already tunnels.
we have that wall, it's for the most part contiguous. We have fill-ins, but we're up to 161 miles exactly. And any place where you have that wall, other than walking around it on the edges, it's stopping everybody cold.
No, it isn't. No, there's videos all over the place of people climbing right over it. As a matter of fact, you put the wall in places that are easily traversed. So it's a signal of where to go. If you see the wall, that means there's a road nearby. If there's no wall, it's because it's all just desert and you'll die.
I mean, we're stopping.
You don't walk around the outside of it. It's why there's a wall at San Diego, but if you go 100 miles east of it, there isn't one because there's nowhere to get to.
Nobody's seen anything like it.
Nobody's ever seen. I mean, I'm always amazed. Nobody's ever seen a podium like this.
How good it works.
Day after day, I come out here and I'm like, have you ever? Wow.
And the other side knew it worked that well. Everybody, because everybody was for it 5 years ago. All of a sudden, they changed.
No, they weren't. No, they have borders at areas that are easily crossable. You don't have to say, oh, God.
It's having a tremendous impact.
No, it isn't.
But we are now focused on so many different things.
Now everyone's swimming.
Because of what's
There's a word for Mexicans that swim into the country. I can't think of it right now, but I will later. But we're naming this Operation.
Happened because of this horrible, I say it's a horrible phenomena.
Really? Is that what you're calling it now? That's good.
That now we've got to focus on drugs, and the drugs come in from different methods, and we have the best people at sea anywhere in the world. So we'll have a tremendous impact on drugs. But one of the other things we'll also have.
The fentanyl that comes from China comes in on regular ships. It's smuggled in. It goes through ports of entry. It sits there hidden in other stuff. We have no way to detect half of it. There was one dude in Cincinnati, Ohio, who had, I think it was, or Dayton, sorry, Dayton, who had enough fentanyl to kill everyone in Ohio 3 times over.
An impact, we think, on the.
I think it's going to be great, but a boat,
on the virus.
We're not. We're using military ships to encircle China or to encircle South American countries because Russian ships are bringing in military equipment, and that's going to lead to a blockade moment.
Okay. Yeah, please.
Check back with me in 8 months.
Ambassador O'Brien, did China underreport both the number of cases and the death toll from the coronavirus? And if that's the case, Mr. President, what does that mean for our relationship with China and your relationship with President Xi?
Well, number one, I think the president has a great relationship with President Xi.
Yeah. And number 2, yes.
And we'd like to have a great relationship with.
We want to have a great relationship with this country. That's why the fact that they lied about at least 100,000 extra cases and how bad this is, but
China. Unfortunately, we're just not in a position to confirm any of the numbers that are coming out of China.
Because we want to keep our relationship with China, because Ivanka has a bunch of trademarks that she's trying to.
There's no way to confirm any of those numbers.
Yeah, there is.
There's lots of public reporting on whether the numbers are too low. You've got access to those reports that are coming out of Chinese social media and
some if you coordinate those with satellite photographs, the rise and fall of like energy usage in the area, the cell phones, all that kind of stuff, you can tell exactly.
A few reporters that are left in China, we just have no way to confirm any of those numbers. Thank you.
We have no interest. We have no interest in confirming those numbers because Trump wants his trade deal.
We really don't know.
We really don't know. And to be completely frank, if I can be, he can be Mark and I can be Frank. We don't know and we don't care.
How do we know whether they underreported or reported however they report? But
we reported with the reporting. When they report what they report.
We had a great call the other night.
So I don't really care.
We're working together on a lot of different things, including.
Why should I care about a bunch of dead Chinese people?
Trade. They're buying a lot.
I'm going to build a tower over there after my presidency is up. Do you guys understand? Where am I supposed to live after the Southern District of New York sends a warrant for me? I've got like 4 countries to choose from.
They're spending a lot of money. They're giving it to our farmers. They're paying our farmers for the product. So, we're gonna continue that along, John. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't really care how many Chinese died, or if they lied to us about how contagious the disease was, as long as they buy a bunch of pork.
I have another one, sir. You tweeted earlier today that there was, you have uncovered intelligence that there was a sneak attack being planned against American troops, American assets.
Sneaky. They're very sneaky.
In Iraq. Are we talking about Kataib Hezbollah again? Also,
no one said, but we just have information that they were planning something, and it's very good information.
So we thought we'd tell everybody what we know because I can get points for paying attention to it, but okay.
It was led by Iran, not necessarily Iran, but by groups supported by Iran. But
so not Iran.
That to me is Iran.
Okay.
And we're just saying, don't do it.
That's all we're saying. Don't do it. know what I'm saying?
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't, Iran. Iran, put it down. Put that down. Put that down. Grandma's sick. Go help her. Don't you have some mass graves to dig that we can see from space?
Be a very bad
Put it down.
thing for them if they did it.
The last time they did do it in early March at Camp Taji, there was a response from the military against Kataib Hezbollah and Kataib Hezbollah alone. Your
That was a
tweets,
very powerful response, by the way. That response
So
knocked
powerful.
out 5 different places,
It's so powerful that we think they're planning more things.
but it also took out a lot of very bad people.
your tweets seem to
A
suggest
lot. A car.
so that if it happens again, it may go up the food
Targeted assassination, but it's fine. Nobody mourns for Soleimani,
chain.
Well, that was a very big response.
except the Iranians who came up with him in the revolution. But honestly,
We knocked out a lot. They hit one site, we hit 5 big ones and ammunition sites. You saw what happened. And I won't say how many people were killed, but some bad people were killed, and a lot of them. That was a big response. But this response will be bigger if they do something. Yeah,
basically, we're going to let Israel nuke them
you had one.
while everyone there is dying of COVID-19.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Just going back to your conversation with President Xi, wondering if you received an intelligence
Xi. There's no Z in the pronunciation of his name. Xi Jinping.
report that talked about the discrepancy in the numbers, and if you addressed that with
We have
President
not
Xi.
received that, but their numbers seem to be a little bit on the light side, and I'm
That's lovely.
being nice when I say
I'm
that.
being nice. I'm going to be nice to when I say the numbers of dead people in your country, a little bit on the light side. You're a little light, Sam. But you can make it up to me next month.
Relative
Shipment.
to what we witnessed and what was
We
reported.
want to be nice to them because they just went through a lot of deaths that they're not reporting. And where are we going to get our fentanyl?
But we discussed that with him, not so much the numbers as what they did and how they're doing. And we're in constant communication with, I would say the biggest communication is myself and
You know who they're not in constant communication with? Li Wenliang.
President Xi. The relationship's very good. We have, look, they're
Look, they buy a lot of stuff. I give a shit if a bunch of their people die.
spending, they will be
Who
spending
cares?
when
Water under the bridge.
things even out. This is obviously a little bit of a hurdle, what's happened over the last
It's a little bit of a hurdle. That's most people don't know I'm working on a book right now about COVID-19 called Little Bit of a Hurdle.
month. But
This month, it's been a little bit of a hurdle.
they'll be spending
Guys, how's the little bit of a hurdle going?
$250 billion buying our product.
That's nothing. We just spent $2.2 trillion restarting our economy to protect people who are going to buy $150 billion worth of stuff. Stuff we could have eaten.
$50 billion to the farmers alone.
Yep. Like they're the only market in the world.
$200 billion to other things. They never did that before. So we have a great trade deal, and
And it's worth, $250,000 Americans.
we'd like to keep it. They'd
Next time this happens, I'll let it slide a little bit. I told him on the phone.
like to keep it, and the relationship is good. As to whether or not their numbers are accurate,
I don't care.
I'm not an accountant from China.
I'm not an accountant from China. I don't have an
No.
abacus, okay? Don't call me Abacus Wong over here. Who knows? And who cares?
Ain't things at all in terms of the trade deals?
No, because people just don't know. People don't know
People don't know. They're buying a lot of stuff from our farmers, and they're selling us a lot of fentanyl hidden in toys.
where did it come from. I think we all understand where it came from, and President Xi understands that. And we don't have to make a big deal out of it.
No. First, they were blaming American military people, and then they now call it the Italy virus.
We didn't like the fact that they said it came from our soldiers, and they haven't pursued that. It was
No, they moved on to Italy. They started blaming Italy. They don't have a trade deal with Italy.
and that was a mid-level person said that. That was not a high-level person. So
But it ended up on state television
I assume
every day.
I will always assume the best. I'll assume the high-level people didn't know about it.
Why? What do you mean? I always assume the best about high-level people. Low-level people, dirty. I mean, some of them may be good people, but probably not.
It was a foolish statement. So look, the relationship with China is a good one, and
If I have to, I will go pee-pee in their Coke because
Relationship with him is, really good. Please.
Can I follow
really good. It's so good. We're buddies. And a buddy tells someone if they're
up just on that point on Chinese propaganda that you mentioned, as well as Ambassador O'Brien? So in the past several weeks, China has been shipping PPEs, masks. They've either been selling or donating everywhere, Africa, Europe,
some of the stuff that we sent them ended up,
Italy, Russia, and really pushing this narrative that they're taking on a global leadership role in the crisis. So what are your thoughts on that? And is there any plan for
Well,
the
I don't mind if
administration
they
to
want
take
to.
on that?
Yeah,
I don't mind if they want to take care of it because we don't have any excess stuff to sell anyways.
I view that as a positive if they're helping other countries. We have 151 countries right now that are under siege by the virus. Under siege.
Siege.
Some are doing really badly.
Really?
They don't know about social distancing. These are countries that
These are dirty countries with people like elbow to elbow. They have, not like New York where people are close,
aren't highly sophisticated. They
Oh, tread lightly. Some of these are shitholes.
don't have great communication
Shithole countries are not doing well.
to the rest of the world. I mean, they don't know.
They're ass from their elbow, and I don't speak their language, so I can't teach them.
The things that we're doing and that some others are able to do. And if China can help them, I'm all for it. I'm for all of us helping everybody. We're soon going to have more ventilators than we need. We're building thousands of
Yeah, because they're arriving too late, you mean?
ventilators right now. Now, it takes a period of time to build them.
Yeah, if you'd have started 6 weeks ago, a bunch of them would be landing right now.
And again, nobody could have known a thing like this could happen.
Yeah, they could have. I watched a special last night from 2005 about the next, like around bird flu and what the next one's going to be like, and it plotted this entire thing out.
We're building thousands. We will
have so many. We're going to be up to our ass in ventilators. And then watch. The Democrats will release Ebola into the water.
fairly soon be at a point where we have far more than we can use, even after we stockpile for some.
We're going to, we know how we have two patients on a ventilator? We're going to start like ventilator hookah bars after this, just because there are going to be so many of them sitting around.
Future catastrophe, which we hope doesn't happen. We're going to be
What do you mean?
distributing them, the extras, around the world. We'll go to Italy, we'll go to France, we'll go to Spain, which
We'll have an auction.
is, very hard hit.
On that note, is there any truth on reporting that your administration is stopping shipment of USAID stockpiles of PPEs abroad?
No truth whatsoever. No.
Your administration
We
is
want.
not.
I would love China and other countries if they have additional supplies, medical supplies, to give to other countries. 151, 150. Why would I stop that? Wouldn't that be terrible to stop it?
Is the U.S. stopping shipment of our own stockpile through USAID to other countries?
Yeah, he doesn't understand what USAID is. He does not know what you're talking about.
No, whatever we have.
Whatever you're talking about, don't.
Whatever
If
we've-
it's good, do it. If it's bad, no, I'm not doing it. I didn't do it before you brought it up, but now that we're doing it, it's what we've been doing all along. Is what we should be doing. If that's what we're doing.
Committed to, we commit.
What's USAID?
But we also need a lot for ourselves, so we're very focused on that
So are you or are you not?
until we get over this. So obviously, we're not going to be shipping too much until now. We do have excess of certain things, and we
We don't have excess of anything.
don't have enough of others.
No, I know.
I just had a great talk today with the
With the Hamburglar from McDonald's, great chain.
Doug McMillan from Walmart. And
Yeah, Walmart. It had to be one of those, whatever. Basically, this is a Walmart ad, essentially, and he's going to let us start testing in the parking lots 2 weeks ago.
I gave him a very, very big order for gowns, for protective gear. For
Really? Wait, did you pick up any orange juice while you were there? And I need some new work shoes.
doctors, for the nurses, for everything. And he's actually very excited about it. He's the
We're buying retail now through Walmart. This is the president's leadership here. We were in the meeting. We're all scrambling. How are we going to get the necessary items and PPE that we need? Where is it going to come from, Mr. President? As a general, I don't know anything. How will we solve that? Why don't we just go to Walmart? I'd say Costco, but my card expired, and I hate filling out a new one. It seems like a waste.
biggest purchaser of this kind of thing. I mean, of of anything probably in the
Biggest, yeah.
world, and he is very excited about it.
He's going to send extra toilet paper.
And he said, "What size?" I said, "It's almost
What size? Extra, extra large.
unlimited." When you look at these hospitals, the amount that they order, you almost say, how could they possibly use so much?
No, you don't. No one says that but you.
Whether it's masks or the protective gear.
I don't know why do these guys want to keep changing their masks and stuff? Can't you just turn it inside out like I do with my underwear?
Here, but we are supplying a tremendous amount, and we just ordered a lot from
Walmart. What I'm saying is buy Walmart stock, if you get me. I'm pumping and dumping that stock today.
He's taking this
Speaking of pump and dump, Pence, get out here. Save me from this.
on personally, and I said, let it be shipped not to a warehouse, directly to the side of the hospital.
Yeah, because we have no stockpile. In an emergency, you have no stockpile. There is no stockpile. You understand? Stockpile happens between events.
Or wherever they need
We're in the middle of one. There's no such thing as a stockpile.
it, because we save a lot of time when we do that. So Walmart, in addition to many other companies and people, is now involved at the highest level.
At the highest level. I don't only deal with some low-level Walmart dude called me a piece of shit the other day, but
Please.
he's in a shithole county.
The announcements that were made today are aimed at curbing the flow of narcotics into the country. Are you concerned that we're possibly losing ground on the drug crisis while we're...
I don't think we're losing ground, but
No, we're doing great. We've always been doing great. I don't even know why you even asked that question. I was already solving this problem. I just thought we should double solve it. Because did you see yesterday? Were you watching? Holy shit.
we don't want to lose ground. That's why we're doing it.
No, we don't want to know.
I don't want to lose ground.
We
It's
got a bunch of things. Yeah.
a big fight. I've seen many families where they're wiped out because they lost a son or a daughter or a husband or a wife
Yeah, this has been happening for years.
for whatever. We're all of them.
Yeah, and what you're talking about is fentanyl, and it comes from China, largely.
And we don't want to lose ground. And
Really? That's weird. Everybody else wants to lose ground. When did you come up with this great plan to not lose ground?
we are heavily focused on the virus, very heavily focused. And with this, we have never, after this goes into effect, which essentially is now, we will never have been so focused on drugs coming into our country as we are right now. And remember, as that wall gets bigger, that really helps us a lot.
No. Why? If building the wall is the trigger point on this, then what are the ships for? We're going to dig a new Panama Canal. I'm going to call it the Mexico Canal. And then that's what's going to happen. They're going to go through all these places. And
It really helps us a lot. Yeah, please.
Is the Mexican government or any other Latin American government working in conjunction with this operation to help with that drug?
Many of the governments are, and Mexico in particular is. And Mexico right now we have 27,000 Mexican soldiers on our southern border, keeping people out of our country. And very few people are coming into our country right now. And as we complete, again, the wall, in addition to the 27,000 soldiers, it's a very tough
you're not building the wall with ships. These are naval and Coast Guard people that are behind you.
place to come into. When I took over, people were
We're
coming
going to airdrop Legos.
in, and they were bringing whatever they wanted. They were bringing drugs of any type,
No, fentanyl comes from China.
and now it's
It,
very hard for them, and it will get harder and harder.
the
But
cartels were actually curbing the amount of fentanyl that was getting mixed with the heroin down there because it was killing their customer base. They had no one to sell to. Like, they're literally making marketing decisions.
the
Reading.
president
Reading's kind of a pain in the ass.
of Mexico is a great guy who's
Awesome.
really helped
He's paying for the wall.
us a lot. 27,000 soldiers, 27,000
Mexican soldiers.
Mexican soldiers.
I
And
suppose, what do you think they're gonna? The Mexican army is full of Italians.
Remember when I first took over, they had all of the caravans coming up with 10,000, 15,000 people in the caravans. They were marching through Mexico.
Yeah, and then suddenly there's the same number of people coming in that they came in before.
That's not happening anymore. Please,
No, it isn't right now because people are sick.
in the back.
Mr. President,
I'm going to take credit for all the people who died of coronavirus while trying to escape Guatemala.
Narco militants such as the FARC 57th Front out of Colombia or the Maduro regime, do you know if they're working in conjunction with the Mexican cartels? Is there any intelligence indicating that?
Probably, if you say so, maybe, yeah. And if it is, we'll stop it. But if we don't, who knows?
I cannot tell you that. I know the
Because I know the answer, but I can't tell you.
answer to that. I believe I do. But I cannot tell you that. We have information that would lead us to believe something very powerfully, but I cannot tell you the answer to that.
Believe something very powerfully. Dude needs some new adjectives.
Yeah, please, Jeff.
Mr. President, have U.S. forces in Iraq taken any precautions because of this particular attack?
Yeah, we sent French ticklers over.
And have you?
They're taking precautions, and we are watching it very closely. And if something bad happens, it's going to be very painful for the other side.
He's talking about COVID-19.
Been in touch with the Iraqi government about this?
They know about it, yeah. They know about it.
Are they offering additional protection or
We'll
anything?
see. We'll see what happens. But, we're down to a small force now over the years. Since I got, we've
So if
been
we lose those guys, I mean,
bringing smaller and smaller. And we're down right now to a small number, but we have very powerful air power there. We have the big base, and which will,
watch the general's twitch behind him as he starts talking. Don't say where shit is.
Can get near it. And nobody can even get near that. But
Now they could just kill a bunch of people around it.
really largely left. We've
You
taken
could shoot at the guards, but those guys are hired.
tremendous amounts out, and we've deployed them elsewhere, including bringing some back home.
And do you think tweeting about it will help prevent
think
that from happening?
Look, if I don't get credit for it, it doesn't happen. You understand?
Or perhaps give them a
social
heads
media.
up?
It's social media. It gets out. I have, hundreds of millions of people. Number one on Facebook. Did you know I was number one on Facebook? And I just found out.
Weird. The place with the most amount of Russian bots of any social media platform, who actually allowed campaign ads to be paid in rubles. Where are you big
I'm
again?
number one on Facebook. I thought that was very nice, for whatever it means. No, it represents something. And
You do realize when a volcano goes off, everybody stares at it. But it doesn't mean it's going to be great for real estate values.
when I can explain to people, just don't do it. It's going to be bad if you do. It's going to be really bad. And
I'm just tweeting to Iran.
they don't need to do it. They have enough problems. Iran has enough problems without doing that. But we've been pulling back very substantially over the last year in Iraq. And so, that's the way it is.
That's the way it is. I don't know. What are you talking about? Who cares?
Before you don't want to give the enemy.
By the way, he's wrong. I am actually number one on Facebook. I don't know if you know that, but I'm the most popular person on Facebook, hands down, across every page, every post. My personal and my professional page are the most popular. I mean, while everybody just gets to say whatever bullshit they want, why not? Sure.
Whoever that is in this case.
Most famous person on Facebook. You're welcome, America.
A heads up. Do you feel like maybe you did?
No, I'm just
No, it's a warning.
giving them a warning. It's not a heads up. I'm giving them a warning. There's a big difference. I'm saying if you do anything to hurt our troops, they're gonna pay a price. No, they did last time. As per the question, they did last time. We didn't make a big deal out of it, but we hit very, very hard 5 massive, major ammunition sites, and a lot of people went with it. A lot of bad people. A lot of
A bunch of janitors.
enemy went with it. And we didn't want to make a big deal out of it, but they paid a big price. They'll pay a much bigger price this
Anybody who works on trucks at an ammo dump deserves to be killed.
time if they do anything.
Now that we have Admiral Gilday here, perhaps we could ask a question about what the plans are for the Roosevelt, sir?
Sure.
Uh-oh. Big dog.
In terms of Roosevelt, we're making great progress in terms of testing and also moving people off the ship.
Good.
So in the past day or so, we've moved over 1,000. That number will increase to more than 2,700 by Friday as we continue to increase the testing as well and fly those samples off. So we're getting after it pretty quickly.
Will the ship remain fully operational
It is fully operational now.
and will remain so?
It will remain so.
Can I ask a follow-up to that? What protocols are you putting?
They haven't taken everybody off the boat, so of course it's still fully operational. They haven't. Nobody's taken their. The captain isn't sick. He's not off. His hands aren't off the wheel.
In place to help
They're gonna have to rotate. It's a functioning military vessel. They're gonna have to rotate the sick people off and get massive testing.
mitigate the spread of coronavirus.
Yeah, like a cruise ship.
Among
Gotta
servicemen
clean the whole every surface in the goddamn boat.
and women who live and work in those
across the fleet, before we have any ships getting underway for training exercises, for deployments, they're spending those sailors are spending 14 days in quarantine before they get underway. We've increased the amount of testing equipment as well as physicians on board our ships at sea. So we've taken additional steps since the beginning of the COVID
Not too
crisis.
many people are going to be getting off at various ports
What?
anymore.
What? It's not. The problem is, I don't know if you know this, but sailors, they go from port to port, the dirty buggers.
Right.
And I've passed out French ticklers so they don't catch what I got.
I think
Fourth stage syphilis is no joke.
correct. We probably have decided on that.
We probably have decided on that. Wow. We probably have decided on that. How many people have you said that in your relationship about something like you're at a party, you're talking about what your vacation plans are, and you say, we probably have decided on that. All right.
You mean civilians?
Thank you. No, military people.
I want to add one.
Go ahead, military people. Oh, thanks, Bill.
I'd like to add one thing to that. There seems to be this narrative out there that we should just shut down the entire United States military.
Nobody thinks that. There's no narrative that says that. What the hell are you talking about? Oh, you've been talking to Judge Janine. Why don't we shut down the whole military?
And address the problem that way. That's not
What? Address the problem that way.
feasible. We have a mission.
Dude, nobody said that.
Our mission is to protect the United States of America and our people. And so we live and work in cramped quarters, whether it's an aircraft carrier, a submarine, a tank, a bomber. It's the nature of our business.
Right, which is why you need testing. Which is why the Abbott tests, as fast as you can get them out, go to active military. They need at least 2 or 3 of them on every ship so that they can make sure that it doesn't, people come in going too short when they do have to interact with other people, can be tested immediately and isolated. You can clean the entire area. Everybody can swab it from top to bottom. And then you get them to our healthcare frontline workers.
But the chain of command has very clear guidance, and I'm confident between the commanding officers and the senior non-commissioned officers
That none of them are going to just shut down the military.
that they're taking every reasonable precaution to make sure we practice as best we can social distancing, sanitizing environments.
There's no social distancing on a ship, jackass. Everybody that's on that boat is isolated together. You test so that they don't have to worry about social distancing on a frigging boat.
etc., consistent with that mission. And that's what I trust Admiral Gilday,
Yeah, they know what they're talking about. You don't.
Acting Secretary Motley, and all the other service chiefs and service leaders to do. And I'm confident we'll do that, because keep in mind, we have a job to do, and we will continue to do it.
No shit.
Defend the United States
Nobody said.
America.
All right, who let the hippie in?
Mr. President, you mentioned the stockpile earlier. The Washington Post reported today that the U.S. stockpile is nearly depleted of.
There is no stockpile. You don't have a stockpile, nor do you maintain a stockpile during an actual emergency. Nobody hoards water while they're putting out a fire.
Of PPE. Is that the case? And if so, how?
Yeah, we've got plenty of stuff. We have too much stuff, tens of millions. And I'm like, why can't they just wipe their ass and turn it inside out? You can.
Because we're sending it directly to hospitals. We don't want it to come to the
We don't want it stockpiled. We don't. No, it's not a want. You don't have time,
stockpile because
nor do you have enough stuff.
then we have to take it after it arrives.
I don't want to look at it.
and bring it to various states and hospitals.
My office is full of boxes of this bullshit.
One of the things, and again, we ask the states to do this as much as possible. Many of the states have people that, whether it's that or clothing, they make clothing, lots of clothing in many of the different states.
Like Pennsylvania has these Amish people, and they make little fireplaces, and then they'll sew you stuff out of gingham.
See if you can get it directly from those manufacturers.
Yeah, there's a lady who sews her own tampons. She's working on masks.
Make a deal.
Make a deal. Do it. Call Walmart. Don't. Why are you calling me?
Use the Purchase Act if we have to on them. If they won't. By the way, so many people are. The spirit is incredible what they're doing.
Yes, they are. The American people are wonderful. You don't get credit for that.
We've asked states where they have large manufacturers of different.
Do it yourself. I don't know. Stop calling me. I'm in the middle. They gave me a Switch with golf games on it.
Different types of equipment to use those local factories, those local plants, and have it made directly, ship it right into the hospitals.
If your state is, if you're New York or California, you might have a state that has a facility that makes masks in a 3M plant. How many states? You think Wyoming has a 3M plant, you jackass? Edna, how are those masks coming? I'm sewing on them as fast as I can, Paul. What do you think? I made them out of burlap. Burlap won't work on viruses. That's only good for bacteria. I don't know how many times I've told you. Now get me something I can sterilize or I'll get the horsewhip again.
We're shipping things right in. We have, as you know, almost 10,000 ventilators, which we need for flexibility. It's a lot.
If you need them for flexibility, that means you don't have enough.
It sounds like a lot, but
no, it doesn't.
It's not, because
it's not.
As you see on the board from yesterday, as this scourge, as this
Jesus, man. Scourge.
Plague, as this virus moves, it moves very fast, and we don't know yet whether we're going to need it.
Really? I heard, I don't know. I was listening to my president, and my president said that it was like one old lady and she's getting much better and it's just an old folks home and it's like 15 people and it's going to go to one. I don't know who you are, but you better talk to my president because he'll tell you different.
In Louisiana, in New York, wherever it may be.
Where are these places that I think about?
So we're ready for it. We're totally ready for it. We're going to be shipping out. We've already
we're not ready for it.
Agreed to ship out over 1,000 today to different sites, different locations.
Really? What, you're shipping out 1,000 today? Why would that be? Because there aren't enough?
But we have to have the flexibility of moving the ventilators to where
we're going to hang on to them so that if a state that I need for re-election comes up online, I have some to give them.
To where the virus is going. And we'll be able to see that, we'll be able to see that from charts a couple of days in advance.
No, we won't.
So right now we have a nice pile of ventilators. We have
I got a nice, look at that pile of ventilators over there. I made a nice pile the other day of ventilators.
A lot more coming in. We have I think we have 11 companies making ventilators.
Yeah, and in 100 days, we'll have a shit ton of them. But meanwhile,
right now,
people are going to get tubes torn away from them.
Very good companies, and they're making them. You know about Ford, you know about General Motors, but we have a lot of companies making the ventilators.
I can tell you who they were, but I'm not going to tell you who I am.
Right now. So now the question is, when you make one, it doesn't get made in 15 minutes. It's not, a mask can go quickly. A ventilator takes time to build.
Yeah, we know. That's why when this started up and they looked at the shortfall, any asshole could have told you that 16,000 ventilators in reserve for a disease that's this bad and caused all the problems that it's causing in the other countries it got to, that once it got here, which we knew it had entered the country in January, you're going to need more. And so you pull the trigger on that. You go, hey, we're going to order 40,000 ventilators. I don't know how many we're going to need, but we're going to add these to the stockpile because we might need them. That's what you do if you actually give a shit.
It's very, very, as we discussed, it's complex, it's big, it's expensive, et cetera.
It's got wires. The controller on it's got so many fucking buttons. I don't even understand it. Like, I was like, why can't they use one of these? Like we could set Barron on it.
But
you know what? Let Barron talk at this point. I've never heard the kid speak a word, but I guarantee
we'll be able to move. We have great flexibility.
He has a better grasp.
Flexibility, John.
Thanks,
I was
Bill.
just going to say, sir, do you want to move on to solely coronavirus or stick with?
Yeah, I think if does anybody have any other questions for
the generals? I want to get them out of here. I mean, they got people to go bomb. I mean, Dr. Birx and Dr. Fauci, I can make them dangle out here for friggin' ever, for 2 hours a day. But these guys, they got shit to do.
This great group of brilliant
men and super, look at the stripes.
people. Yes, please.
Ask them a question, please, for fuck's sake.
Thank you, Mr. President. Question for Secretary Esper. Is the military personnel that's been fanned out across the country to help combat the virus, is there any chance that they're planning to see at some point have those military personnel treat or see COVID-19 patients?
Well, excuse me, as you know, we have the hospital ships currently deployed, one in LA and one in New York City. So they could be treating patients as they come in. We're taking precautionary measures to screen them beforehand to make sure that they're not exposed, if you will. Same with the military hospitals that we are deploying, certainly again to New York, Seattle, and other places. But the one thing we got to be careful of is that these are deployable assets. They are unique. So if we want to retain the ability to deploy military doctors, expeditionary military hospitals around the country, we got to preserve and protect them as best we can.
Right.
That said, we remain completely available to assist as need be, as directed by FEMA, as the Vice President and the President asks us.
Nah, you got big fish to fry. Go take care of the soldiers right now. National Guard and FEMA will take care of the public.
That's what we commit to
do
to the American people to help safeguard them and protect them through this virus.
Yeah, no. Take care of the service members. Focus on them. Let the civilian NGOs, private corporations, the government itself, and the National Guard and FEMA take care of everybody else. Like, why the shit would you want military doctors who also have to service people who are trapped on boats to come ashore, work on some shit, and then go back if you don't have adequate testing?
So as part of that,
don't be a moron.
Will they be
I mean, the generals all know this.
seeing coronavirus patients, or will they strictly be seeing other patients and helping them?
They could have called upon. I think the best use for them is based on their training and how they're structured and organized is for trauma. We can take the load off of hospitals with regard to their trauma patients, thereby freeing
if you have proper testing, you can make sure that the people who are injured don't also have coronavirus.
up rooms and other doctors,
which you don't.
Particularly doctors who are, respiratory nurses or doctors who deal with infectious disease to treat those type of patients. So I think it's the best use of our resources. But again, if push comes to shove, we're prepared to do what we have to assist the American people. At the same time, preserving the medical capability we need to
don't
support our operation
until you have ubiquitous testing. Those guys have no business coming ashore.
Forces abroad,
and on military bases, same thing. Those are confined areas.
And we're looking at doing 2 additional brand-new hospital ships because these ships have really, they've really struck a blow, very positive blow for what they're doing, going into Los Angeles, going into New York. So we're looking very seriously at building 2 additional ships of about the same size.
Building 2 new ones or deploying 2?
It'll either be, building, but we're looking at building either 2 new ones or doing the renovation of another large ship. But this
you just convert 2 ships that are no longer used for military service. Like we have decommissioned ships that can be made into hospital ships. They're only decommissioned because the artillery on them is not as strong and the cannons on them aren't big enough. Remove that shit. Recommission them. What are you talking
has
about?
really worked out well. So probably 2
so good. 2 brand new hospital ships.
New ones.
So, Mr. President,
Is this concerning the gentleman, or do you want them? You don't want them
Why, dude?
To get back to work and capture all those bad people.
Yeah.
Follow up, Mr. President or
Go ahead.
Mr.
Sure.
Secretary. I know that Secretary Wilkie has said he's on standby, waiting to hear if VA hospitals need to be opened. The doors need to be opened to civilians.
No.
True.
Are you talking about that?
Yes,
Could
we
we
are.
see that happen?
In
How
fact,
soon
certain
could that
No.
Hospitals,
happen?
yeah, certain. It can move very quickly. He's a very capable man. We're ready to move.
Yes, he is. Don't do it. There are enough, like, veterans themselves, like, if it starts to sprawl through a system where you've got veterans getting a ton of care, you don't need to do that. Build the FEMA sites.
Very quickly. As an example, in Louisiana, they have a very big hospital. So
especially, like, non-COVID patients, maybe.
We're looking to move very quickly if we need them. Hopefully we won't need them.
Hopefully we won't need them. Jesus Christ, man. Oh, you know what? It's my fault. I shouldn't have brought that up. It's not like he was at the briefing yesterday. Won't need them.
Soon?
We're going to find
the average death rate in the United States for April is around 260,000 people. Which means we're going to double the death rate for April and May over the next 2 weeks. And we have 986,642 beds available in every hospital in the country, and 80% of them are always in use.
Find out pretty soon.
But, you know,
We're only going to know when,
nobody could have seen this coming.
at the time it happens. We prepare for the worst.
No, no, you didn't. You didn't prepare for the worst. You fired the pandemic response team, and then you filed a paper that was their mission statement as if it was something that your administration came up with, signed it, put it on a shelf, and forgot about it.
We are preparing for the worst. Unfortunately, that's the way we have to look at it.
Just to follow up on the purpose of these naval ships, you mentioned something about, treating trauma patients. And I'm just curious, what about things like, giving birth? Would mothers be expected in New York, for example?
Well, as I
to do
understand,
this?
they're not doing that on the ship. That's
No. You know where one of the places they can go to give birth? Planned Parenthood. They have all the necessary equipment there to actually bring babies to term as well, That's what the whole Planned Parenthood kind of thing is about.
So one thing they're not doing outside of the COVID-19, they're not doing that. The birth of a baby not being done on the ships.
Okay. Can I have
If you're coming pregnant with a busted arm and you start going into labor, we're tossing you overboard. What?
a follow-up question?
I made a rule. Look, whatever you do, ain't no birthing and no babies on these ships.
With Attorney General Barr, please. This has to do with the visa restrictions on immigrant doctors. Is the administration considering easing the restrictions or waiving restrictions for doctors with J1 or H1B visas so they can help other doctors during this crisis?
Depends. It's really, we've got a shade chart we hold up next to you, and it depends on how dark you are.
Actually, the immigration laws are no longer under the administration of the Department of Justice, and I haven't been participating in any of those discussions.
I don't care. Basically, foreign or bad is what we do now. We don't. It used to be that I had to care about that. I don't care.
What about you, Mr. President? Can you respond to that
One
question,
more for
Mr.
this group back
President?
One more. These guys got to go back to work. Bring Fauci out here. He's just dicking around trying to stop COVID.
Secretary Esper, the WHO, this is on the top.
This is amazing, though. Like, this is 100% like just a flag wave after yesterday's bad numbers. Like, they must have prepped this. This looks like something when they talked about Sunday extending the 30 days. They're like, okay, I need some stuff that makes me look tough the very next day. So, guys, fly in because you're going to be human props.
Topic of coronavirus in Iran. The WHO confirms that Iran is vastly underreporting its coronavirus cases, not just cases, but fatalities. According to on the ground.
Bet you they'll say, oh, it's totally true. I bet you there's a ton of those. Like China, we don't know. That's and we trust that they're buying a bunch of pork, so it's cool. But Iran, oh yeah, totally.
Estimates that it might be as high as 15,500 deaths. 32 commanders in the military in Iran are now confirmed either in dire condition or dead. You have 8% of the parliament now.
Slow down, I'm getting a boner.
Down with coronavirus. So is Iran's soundings of aggressions today that President Trump just tweeted about, do you think strategically, is that a bluff on their part, or is this a sign of very clear desperation? Where are you strategically on that?
Well, first and foremost, we empathize for the Iranian people. I mean, they clearly have been hit hard. As you know, I think the president's spoken about it, certainly Secretary Pompeo. We've offered assistance, we've offered medical supplies, et cetera. They have refused that. I think
because they don't trust that what we send them will be safe, and they also have to sell this storyline that we're the big evil. And so if they start taking aid from us and the people go, well, they sent us ventilators. I mean, they're busted. They're better than the ones that went to California, though.
if the Iranian regime put more interest in terms of taking care of their people, in the context of this virus, they would be better served. Instead, the Iranian regime continues to want to spread its malign activities throughout the region. They want to continue to send out the Quds Force and others to cause problems throughout the region. We know that in one way, shape, or form, they either
have next to nothing to do with us and are about an inner struggle in the Middle East about tribes controlling large sections of it. Sunni, Shia, and all that. Yeah, sure.
Resourcing, directing, approving, or whatever operations for Shia militia groups in Iraq that are targeting American forces. So I think at the end of the day, again, I feel deep concern for the Iranian people. The important thing is the Iranian government should focus on them and stop this malign behavior.
But do you think the numbers are real?
That they've been.
And what about the generals and the people up there who are sick?
Conducting now.
You know, one of the ways that the Iranian military got in such trouble with COVID-19, they didn't practice social distancing.
For over 40 years. I think the entire region and certainly the Iranian people would be better off for it.
Yeah, agreed.
And I happen to think they want to make a deal. They just don't know really how to start.
They did know how to start. They started with the Iran deal, and you threw it away.
And they've been.
And if you'd moved along, then they would have accepted some of the stuff because they would have felt like they could have trusted you.
Given some bad advice by former Secretary Kerry. Some very bad advice. And I really think they want to make a deal, which is the Logan Act, but would have to look at the Logan Act. All you have to do is take a look. I think they've been given very bad advice by Secretary Kerry. I think that they're dying to make a deal. Look, their country.
Oh, bad choice of words, bro. They're dying. Get it? See what I did there?
Country's in trouble.
Dying to make a deal. That's my book, Iran and its Struggle. That's my next book.
Their economics are shot. They've got a lot of bad things going. I think they'd like to make a deal. They can get it settled.
They did make a deal
very quickly.
They did make a deal, and it's not going to be signed very quickly.
No nuclear weapons. No nuclear weapons.
Right.
They can't have nuclear weapons. It's very simple. Okay.
But can they have nuclear power? Then how do you determine whether the nuclear power can be turned into nuclear weapons? Because who supplies them with nuclear power? Russia does. Who also has a bunch of loose nukes floating around and technological stuff that allows them to build one? Russian. Every nuclear facility in Iran has Russian personnel.
Let's let these folks get back to work. Is that okay? Thank you all very much.
Let me touch everybody as they leave. I'm alone again.
So as we
without you.
deploy our service members to combat both threats abroad.
Oh, he had an outgoing speech for him too.
Invisible enemy at home. Earlier today, I spoke to.
Oh, it's back to the exciting, heart-swelling Jesus.
Our nation's incredible warriors and military.
Notice he has never done this with Birx or Fauci, who are working on the COVID thing.
Families spent a long time on the phone with thousands and thousands of families that were hooked in order to stop the spread.
Must have been a crazy call.
Of the virus. Some of these families have delayed planned moves to their next duty station. And in other cases, military families.
Oh, round two. Look, oh, he's bringing out.
These are also waiting.
The B team's coming out.
Longer to welcome home the heroes from deployment. There's a tremendous.
Should I go? Should I go through? Should I walk through while he's talking?
Burden to bear, and the families have.
Jesus Christ. How can I make these longer?
Been involved with us for so long, and they are incredible. Without the families, they couldn't be the great service members that they turned out to be, and they understand that. And I must say, protecting our military families is our top priority. So they understand what's happening with.
Is there a single thing that he would say is not our top priority?
With respect to the virus, and they understand it well. They've been fantastic. As Commander-in-Chief, I'm deeply grateful for our service members, their spouses, and their children.
I could tell. You could feel it.
Whose love, devotion, and sacrifice keeps.
Love, devotion, and sacrifices. I just push all those. I make those into one word. I feel like it's more impactful that way. Love, devotion, and sacrifice. Like if I read it straight into my tie knot, you think that'll really make people feel good? Love, devotion, and sacrifice.
America strong. To make, procure, and deliver crucial
Procure was a rough one.
Medical supplies to our doctors, nurses, and healthcare workers. My administration is leveraging the might of American manufacturing.
We might not. We'll see.
Manufacturing supply chains and innovators across the industry and across every industry. And I just told you about Walmart, and I could tell you about many more. Hanes.
Hanes. People are wearing tidy whities as masks. You couldn't even. I mean, this is the best.
Making protective gear and masks.
And you get in two lines, boxers or briefs, and then you put them on your head and you go to work.
And we're making tremendous amounts of product. There's never been anything like it.
No, there's never been anything like it. Like when World War II, when Entire factories were full of families. Rosie the Riveter ain't shit.
At the same time, I tell the governors, get it yourself if you can from your local companies.
Just get it yourself. I don't know. What am I, your dad?
And your local warehouses and factories. If you can do that, you should do that.
If you can do it, do it. If you can't do it, then you're not going to get it.
Because of the actions that
Never going to get it, never going to get it, never going to get it, never going to get it.
we've taken under the Defense Production Act, manufacturers and suppliers are sharing with FEMA and HHS their planned orders and allocations to states and to hospitals all over the region.
So instead of using the Defense Production Act to actually force these companies to produce the stuff that we need federally and pass it out to the states as required, all the companies have to do is report what they're giving to individual states or selling to the individual states, which, by the way, can't run a deficit. And yeah.
This enables FEMA and HHS to work closely
Does it now?
with states, local governments, and private sector.
Really? They wouldn't normally be working? You wouldn't? No?
To allocate critical resources to highly impacted areas, working together. We're entirely focused on getting materials to the right place at the right time. So we
really, that's the goal. The right place at the right time. You know,
we wanted to go.
We don't want to get there early. Ooh, keep it back. You know, if you send it early, it's not like Christmas.
Go directly to a hospital or directly to a certain state location.
I don't want to hear about it.
And ideally, not even hit the state's warehouses. If we can avoid the warehouses, it's even
no. Just keep them on trucks, drive them straight to the hospital.
Better because they.
Because why would you move them to? Why would a governor who's trying to manage limited resources put them all in a central location and try to
go directly into a hospital? And
so you decide what hospitals they go to.
Example of that.
You're not even directing where the stuff is going. You just said you're using the Defense Production Act to have the companies tell you where the stuff is going after it's already going there.
It is Ohio,
and when they're planning on maybe sending it in the future.
Great state of Ohio. Senator Rob Portman called today and
he really kissed my ass. You should have seen it. I said, "Pucker up, Buttercup. It's the best rusty trombone I've had in weeks."
He
no offense, Mike.
Asked for some help and got us. Did a tremendous job along with.
He wanted us to help him remove some of the security features on voting machines, and we were happy to.
Mike DeWine, the great governor of Ohio, to facilitate a donation of 2.2 million gowns. 2.2 million gowns. Think of what that is.
That's like, how many proms is that?
2.2 million.
Yeah. That's not a lot if you have to change them every friggin' time you interact with somebody. What are you talking? It was like, think of how many sheets are on a roll of toilet paper. There's like thousands and thousands. Like, what is that for? Every time I wipe my ass, I use mostly my hand and half a sheet. How does these people?
To the Strategic National Stockpile from Ohio-based Cardinal Health. Cardinal Health, we appreciate it, and they're making much more than that and different types of things.
Oh, good. All right. Do they go in? Is there a special column for different types of things?
We're
gowns. Okay, we've got a column for gowns, column for masks, ventilators, and then other things. What's over there?
Finally grateful.
Those whistles that go when you blow on them.
For their contribution to protect the.
You breathe through those things. Kazoo.
Lives and safety of our healthcare professionals. Cardinal's been working with us very well. FEMA and HHS formed a historic partnership.
That's not a good idea. How far can you pull back? I want her to look a little more attractive. How about Cleveland?
With the private sector called Project.
Look at my skin color and look at his. Whatever that is.
Airbridge.
Look at my eyes. Look at his eyes.
To bring supplies from other countries to the United States, including gloves, gowns, goggles, and masks.
Why would you need that if we have plenty and there's too many? It's going straight to the state.
These supplies will soon be distributed around the country. We have large cargo planes coming in from various parts.
They're huge.
Of the world every day.
You should see them.
They
look like a can of peanut butter with somebody put on a paper airplane.
New plane loads are landing in cities such as New York, Miami, Chicago, Los Angeles. Additional flights have
all places which a lot of people don't know have airports.
Been scheduled. And
that aren't really busy right now, curiously enough.
we're adding more and more, and they're actually coming in ahead of schedule. A lot of these
Are they? Are they? Are they, though? Are they ahead of schedule?
flights are coming in with a lot of material ahead of schedule.
Right, like how, like 10 minutes?
The amount of usage, the amount of need is something that nobody's ever seen before.
Okay, good. I'm going to guess that over the course of the next 15 minutes, there's going to be a lot of things that nobody's ever seen before and nobody could even have imagined.
We are getting so much, but no matter how much we get, they seem to use it up very quickly.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, you know why? Because it's disposable. That's why. See, why is this news to him every fucking time?
More than 17,000.
Why do they use all this shit? Like, I don't get it. You know, I don't get it. Aren't condoms like socks? You wear the same pair for a week.
National Guard personnel,
especially when you're quarantined. Uh-oh, TMI.
Have now been activated all across our country. On Tuesday, the Vice President sent a letter to the governors calling on them to
For the record, I don't sleep in socks unless I haven't cut my toenails.
have plans in place
It's only
to use the National Guard to move medical supplies from warehouses to hospitals. So a lot of times we'll deliver supplies to a warehouse.
Oh, this is the whole, they dropped it off in New Jersey. Thank you, Lisa Mia Moore. Thank you guys for the super chats. I greatly appreciate it. Think about becoming a Patreon subscriber. This is all I do now because life has seized up. So, you know, the kids got to eat. I greatly appreciate it. I will be doing this regardless, though, every day for free just to try and bring a little cheer to this crap.
In a state, someplace in New York or in New Jersey. Or
Yeah, it's the same friggin' story. They dropped off a bunch of shit in a warehouse in New Jersey that was supposed to go to New York, and then they didn't tell anyone it had arrived.
Or in Connecticut or wherever it may
Wherever it was in the 3 areas I was going to quarantine, but I'm not going to. And I said quarantine for like 3 days, and then all of a sudden everybody left.
be. And
then they couldn't even find it.
They're having difficulty getting it moved. So what we're doing, if we don't bring it directly to the hospital, is we've authorized, it was a special
To tell them that it's gotten there?
authorization.
We gave them a tracking number from the U.S. Postal Service.
The
We're going via Amazon. Fuck you, Bezos.
National Guard to
Why do you have to be a real billionaire? It's so rude.
go into that facility and to move it for the state. So the National Guard is
They don't have to move it. They just needed to know it was there.
moving a lot of this equipment and medical supplies.
Moving it was not the problem. You didn't tell it where it was. You didn't have somebody. That's what the whole tactical or logistics person that was suggested by the last guy who ran the CDC's or the FEMA response. That's what he said a couple days ago in an interview. If you drop shit off, tell people where it is.
Into a hospital or into an area
We're thinking of installing a Ring doorbell in all FEMA warehouses.
where it's
So if a package shows up and somebody tries to steal it,
needed
we can go, get away from here, weird Mexican cartel guy stealing our masks.
by the state. As I said yesterday, difficult days are ahead for
Yeah.
our nation. We're going to have a couple of weeks starting pretty much now.
Time is going to start moving in one direction currently.
But especially a few days from now that are going
So when I say the next couple of weeks, what I mean is the days ahead of us for a couple of...
to be horrific.
I feel better.
But even in the most challenging of times, Americans do not
Oh, here comes the soaring speech. Somebody cue... Who has... Jerry, come on, man. Cue up the national anthem.
despair. We do not give in to fear. We pull together, we persevere, and we overcome, and we win. This week, every American
Did you like all those words? They were very positive words. I like to be very positive while I'm not telling you what's going on.
heart is joined with the people of New York as they continue to bear the brunt of the pandemic. To every New Yorker, please know that we are by your side. I love New York. And every day we will be with you. And it could
No, we're all apart, actually.
very well be that others take over from New York. There are some areas, some hot spots in other states that are
You mean Louisiana, the places you ignored? All the states where the governors are telling everybody to just keep swimming?
really exploding.
Great use. Great word. Cool. Don't panic, America. The areas around you are just exploding.
Some, like Louisiana, were very late.
So, 'cause, yeah, they were like fine, and then they weren't. Yeah, that's how an epidemic works, jackass.
And then all of a sudden,
It's so weird. Like there was this place, and yesterday there wasn't a tornado, and today there is one. So
it
maybe
was like an explosion.
no, it wasn't. And if it was, it had a long wick that was lit in January.
In confronting this deadly plague, America is armed with capabilities.
Da, 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 da. Jesus Christ, the deadpan reading is just friggin'
Never dreamed of in past centuries.
they didn't nobody thought about this. Never dreamed of in past centuries.
You look at 1917, the pandemic, it was something ravaged parts of this country, but ravaged Europe, ravaged.
It tore Europe's blouse and ravaged Europe, and Europe was laying back going, "No, I can't. I'm not yet a woman of means." And the coronavirus was like, "Take it, and you like it, lady." And I was back that ass up, ravaging.
They say 75 to 100 million. Some
Oh, you're trying to now he wants to quote the Spanish flu numbers so that he can get, before we had like back when anesthesiology was like a hammer and a wish.
people say 50
We're doing way better than then.
to 75 million.
So if fewer than 50 million die, winning.
People died.
Yeah, we know. By the way, I'll look it up. Hold on.
Think of that. And
I am thinking of it. I'm thinking of it right now. I'm thinking I'm thinking of the Spanish flu tearing the blouse off of Europe.
it was a long time ago. Over 100
Lady
years ago.
Liberty, I've been ravaged.
Very, very.
Tell me about it. Tell me about it, big boy. Sell it. What is it? Tell us how. Oh,
Many books written about the 1917, 1918 pandemic. Our doctors are poring over the virus genetic code, designing potential therapies and vaccines.
oh, it's so exciting. I can't believe it. It's so
Our planes
amazing.
are airlifting supplies from every
Thank you, Joe Carter.
corner of the earth. We're watching other countries and they're watching us to see whether or not
We're watching them. They're watching us. We're watching the cartels. We have boats and ships in the air watching everybody. So I always feel like somebody's watching me because I got COVID-19. Oh, I always.
and who's going to be the first to come up with a cure or
And it better not be them, the stupid Germans. I tried to buy them for cash, but they wouldn't come over here. Where are the Werner von Brauns of COVID-19?
a remedy of some kind.
Dun, 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 dun. I need a remedy, yeah.
Or even a help if it
Even a help. Help. I need somebody. He's just playing the hits today.
can help.
Help. I need somebody. Help.
And of course, a vaccine. We're looking very strongly for a vaccine. Johnson & Johnson is doing well, and other companies are doing very well.
Are they? They're doing well? In their first clinical trial where they don't know if it's going to work yet? That whole thing? They're doing very well? You mean they're not like tripping and falling and sticking a needle in their arm in the process? Because that's the only verifiable thing. No one has been killed falling down a flight of stairs making the new vaccine. That's which way to go, Johnson & Johnson. Go for it. They're thinking September. I hope it's sooner. Good for you.
Most powerful asset, our greatest weapon in this
Oh, you see that? He said asset, and Mike did with that.
effort is the spirit of our people. And
really, that's our biggest asset? I think ventilators would be helpful. I mean, I love the spirit of our people, and I'm very proud of the spirit of our people. But I don't think the spirit of our people, although, esprit de corps, he brought that up. Spirit, breath. Oh, maybe it's just
we want to keep away, keep
the spirit of the ventilators.
Keep a distance. Keep away. If you don't get it, it solves a lot of problems. If you don't get it, and you can't get it if you keep the distance.
No, you can touch a surface and you can get it. If you don't get it, you're not a problem. Don't be part of the problem.
American spirit is unyielding, unwavering, and unbreakable.
Yeah. That's not something that's because of you.
Incredible.
It is incredible. But the human spirit is pretty extraordinary. The stuff that people go through all the time and that are going through right now is extraordinary. Especially, I don't know, our frontline healthcare workers who need a lot of gowns and masks because they can't reuse them because they'll get sick and die.
I've never seen anything like it.
Really? You haven't? No? Oh, that's right. Because on 9/11, all you could see was people dancing in New Jersey.
The way the people have pulled together, the unity of this country. So together we're going to win this war, and the sooner we do, the sooner we can begin to rebuild, and we're ready to rebound and return to
So good. Aren't you tired of this already?
Normal lives. We went from the best.
Can't wait to go golfing again.
Economy of the
Look, dude cannot go golfing for a month. And I guarantee they've set one of those digital golf things up in one of the rooms.
history of the world, the best economy.
Yeah, tell us like glory days
that this country has ever seen, the best employment numbers we've ever had.
Glory days.
160 million people working.
Yeah, exactly. The economic arc that was going up since 2009, since the recovery.
Almost 160 million.
To Yep, totally in charting with the Obama years. Right, go ahead.
A point where the professionals came to me and they say, sir, you're going to have to shut the country down. I said, what does that mean? They said, sir, you're going to have to shut it down.
He's like, can't I just ride it like a cowboy? I want to be a cowboy.
And we're going to build it up, and I think we're going to build it up fast. I think we're going to have a tremendous rebound. There's a great energy and a great...
Yeah, because it's not an economic crash. It has nothing to do with the inherent system, except for the fact that at the top of the hierarchical tier of leadership in the country is a dude who said, I think it's like 15, it'll go to 1 pretty soon. It's just one sick old lady in a old folks home, and why would we want to worry about that? Go shopping. Go to work.
Pent-up demand.
Who needs all that shit?
And as you know, phase 3 was terrific, and phase 4, what passed in Congress, and
that was phase 2, according to Mnuchin. Are we adding phases now?
Phase 4, if that happens, will be great.
We'll let you know.
I already proposed paying almost 0 interest on bonds, and I proposed
yeah, and that's incredibly frightening.
$2 trillion infrastructure plan, which would not only fix our roads and highways and bridges and tunnels and other things, but will also do something very good. It's called jobs. I'm also asking...
Except nobody can go out and do anything yet.
That
might want to handle this first.
Restaurants and entertainment facilities go back to the old deductibility from corporations where...
Yeah, so rich guys can write off dinners. Hey, I'm for it. That's all good. I mean, I can't, clearly Pence is missing that deduction. You can't send a bunch of dudes from the office to a strip club and...
Where corporations can buy, because otherwise a lot of these restaurants are going to have a hard time reopening.
Yeah, that's the lifeline, folks. Folks, come on. The only thing that's going to bring these restaurants back is if corporate expense sheets can write off trips to restaurants. Nobody goes to a restaurant to hang out with friends. What is that?
Takes a long time, and they're going to have a hard time reopening.
Nobody eats unless they can write it off. Well,
so we're asking for...
I write off everything.
Going back to deductibility where corporations can buy and corporations can go out to lunch and they pay and they get a deduction on what they eat. They get a deduction.
That's what's choking everything.
On the bill, and same with the entertainment. It's going to bring a lot of people back. I think it'll open up the restaurant business. People forget that years ago...
Jesus Christ, what a New Yorker.
They had that, and when they got rid of it, when they ended it, for whatever reason, but they ended it.
Because it wasn't necessary, because people have to eat anyways, and you should pay for it. If you're trying to make everybody think your company is badass because you can send them to a steakhouse, then pay for it.
Many restaurants...
It's not on the government's tit.
Went out of business.
A lot of restaurants went out. Once you couldn't write off lunches there.
Entertainment-type facilities went out of business. And now's a great time to bring it back. It was...
I'm fine for this existing. This is not the panacea that he's talking about. It's not.
It was a terrible time for that business after...
Totally bad.
They ended it.
Oh, my God. This guy's whining about...
But this is a great time to bring it back. It'll keep our restaurants going. In fact, I think the restaurant business will be actually bigger and better than it is right now.
Why? You think they're going to be more mouths? when this is over?
Now, so we're also talking about that. And now what we'll do is we'll take some questions, and I
Oh, good.
see Mike is back with some of the folks. That's great, Dr. Fauci. And we will.
And what's her name? The woman?
Oh, how are you? Thank you, Deborah. So we'll take some
Dr. Fauci, but it's Deborah to you. Nice
questions.
scarf today. Looks good.
And
wear that instead of a mask. And N90, that's a one from her N95 line. Available at the TrumpCampaign.com website.
Make progress day by day, please.
MAGA scarf.
Mr. President, so yesterday you were talking about a friend you had who was in a coma.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear your friend's going through that. But you said this is no flu. There's still some people who kind of think of this as the flu, and over the past month, you've compared it to the flu sometimes, saying treat it like the flu, or treat it how we handle the flu. So what changed your thinking on that, or your language
I think the
on
severity. I think also in looking at the way the contagion, it is so contagious. Nobody.
Yeah, everybody was telling you about that. What do you mean he's going to say nobody could have thought about this? Why do you think China was? Did you see the footage? They were welding people into their apartments and driving through with blowers blowing Clorox out the top of it. Nobody could have thought how.
Nobody's ever seen anything like this. Where
nobody's ever seen anything like this except in December.
Large groups of people, all of a sudden, just by being in the presence of somebody, have it. The flu.
Yeah, no. You mean like the measles?
Has never been like that. And
so weird.
There is, a flu is contagious, but nothing like we've ever seen here. Also, the violence of it, if it hits the right person, and you know what
I mean by the right person, is someone I, do business with.
Those stats are.
That's the right person.
If it hits the right person, that person's in deep trouble. And my friend was the right person.
When you heard about that with your friend, was that a turning point?
Yeah,
in your
well,
thinking?
not a turning point. No, before that I knew how, because I'm seeing numbers and I'm seeing statistics that are, not exactly very good. So.
Well, that's a way to put it.
Oh, but it hit him very hard. He's strong.
I guess so. He's in a coma.
A very strong kind of a guy, but he's older. He's heavier. And he's sort of central casting for what we're talking about. And it hit him very hard.
The part that he was born to play.
Never said
central casting. If you picture in your head the kind of person you think is going to get sick, they look, I don't know, a little older, a little heavier.
Like it. Yeah, John?
Mr. President, and maybe this question as well for Dr. Birx or Dr. Fauci. Senator Lindsey Graham tweeted last night, and we checked today, that there are still flights that are running between hotspots like New York and Detroit, New Orleans as well. A number of flights were completed today. Senator Graham's point is, if you're going to declare mitigation, should it not be full mitigation, and you stop people from traveling?
Well, we're thinking about doing that at the same.
We'll think about doing that probably right at the peak of death. We'll start thinking about doing the stuff we should have done 3 weeks ago. Is that cool? Okay, cool. Next question.
Same time, we just, to start these airlines and to start this whole thing over again is very tough, John. It's very tough.
Yeah, but those 8 people on a flight aren't the difference between these companies shutting down or staying open.
And you have them going, in some cases, from hotspot to hotspot. If you notice,
yeah, they noticed. That's why Graham said what he said, and he asked the question. Somebody's noticed.
Usually hotspot to hotspot.
Hotspot to hotspot. That's how most of the time airplanes fly. Like, I don't take these shit flights to Tulsa. Basically, New York, straight to Mar-a-Lago.
Very few flights, New York to Miami, but we're thinking.
What are you talking about?
We're certainly looking at it, but once you do that, you really are clamping down an industry that is desperately needed.
No, you just do. Dude, that's not the answer. The answer is we have limited flights because while this is going on, there are essential industries that do require people to do interstate travel fairly quickly, and they do it commercially. So what we're going to do is ramp up testing at airports and screening at airports. We're also going to have to make it so that the airlines separate people and that they clean each plane between usage in a way that they didn't before, which they have time to do because, be a president. Why do I have to think this stuff up? I was in Frog with Shelley Duvall and Elliot Gould and Scott Grimes.
But how do you make that calculation as to whether or not you keep the
Well, we're
industry
going
afloat or
to.
your risks
We're going to eventually. Let me think about it. I mean, you just brought it up.
Yeah.
spreading contagion?
That is a calculation that we're looking at right now. We're looking
Still calculating. I left my calculator in Mike's office.
at it very strongly, please.
So let me follow up to that, Mr. President.
Oh no, I switched. Look, lady, I switched to another reporter because I didn't want to finish answering that question. Do you not know how this works?
Not every governor has issued a stay-at-home order. All of you
Yeah, but DeSantis did one, but he delayed it for 24 hours so people could leave the state.
have made it very clear
In case anybody's sick, they can drive to Louisiana.
how important it is to stay home, that we are in a dire situation here, and that's how you stop the spread.
Well, if you're gonna die or something else.
Staying home.
sure.
Why not take the power out of the hands of the governors and you just issue a stay-at-home order for every
Because
state
states
in
are
this
different.
country?
The states are very different, and Louisiana, like nobody knew there was cases there, and then boom, it was like an explosion. And if I, as president, had ordered a stay-at-home order for the entire country, it may have never exploded. And it's a hotspot. You weren't talking about Louisiana last
States are
week.
different, and I understand that Governor of Florida, great governor, Ron DeSantis, issued one today,
Yeah, and it doesn't start till tomorrow night.
and that's good, that's great. But there are some states that are different. There are some states that don't have much of a problem. There are some,
Yeah, but they're gonna have a problem.
well, they don't have the problem. They don't have
They're gonna have a problem. All states have cases now. All of them.
thousands of people that are
Oh my God. No one touch Fauci's sleep.
positive, with thousands of people that even think they might have it, or hundreds of people in some cases. So you have to look. You have to look at states. You have to give a little bit of flexibility. I mean, if a state
Oh, do you now?
in the Midwest, or if Alaska, as an example, doesn't have a problem, it's awfully tough to say, close it down. So we have to have a little bit of flexibility. Look, we're helping governors. We're really here to help governors. They're the front
We're going to
line.
help governors by if they close down their state, we're not stopping the state next door from having open travel. We're going to help the states that don't have a lot of cases get a lot of cases.
Of attack, and that includes in purchasing, by the way. We're here and we're backing them up, and there's never been a backup like we've given them. We've given them billions of dollars worth of things, medical supplies and ventilators, thousands.
Yeah, they're going to need them
and thousands of
because you haven't done it because they've literally charted.
ventilators. We have thousands under construction right now.
They are really why. Really, they're getting a lot of field hospitals. Are they in Tennessee?
We have thousands ready to go in case they need it. There's never been anything like this. I mean,
There's been a lot of things like this.
they've done really, the people have done incredibly. We're building hospitals all over the country. We're building
Tents, and you're converting spaces into cough wards.
hospitals
You're
right
not building hospitals. They're not going to be around later. These hospitals.
now
You're building MASH units on a mass scale.
at a rate that has never even been contemplated before.
It's oh my God. Of course, they've been contemplated before.
There
are people whose job it is. That's like if in the middle of a nuclear war, like nobody ever thought a nuclear war. None of these generals could have even thought of what would happen during a nuclear war. It's like their job to do that nonstop.
mobile hospitals, but they're really not mobile. I mean, they're
not mobile. They're temporary.
Incredible structures, but we're building.
They're tents.
Building many hospitals. Louisiana, New Jersey, New York. We just finished
those three places.
A massive hospital complex, and we also have medical centers built in New York. I mean, we're building hospitals at the rate that this country has never
seen before. Nobody could even imagine.
Done before, and hopefully it's all going to work out.
Hopefully it's all going to work out. Hopefully.
Sir, it's Mr. President. I just want to make sure we're clear on the
We're not.
planes. Are you looking at just curtailing routes between certain hotspots, or is it broadly?
Well, we're looking at
We're looking at doing anything and nothing and everything. And there's a chart. I lean towards riot it like a cowboy, and everyone else is telling me that we should pull all the planes into a giant pit and blow them up. So somewhere between there.
The whole thing, because we're getting into a position now where we want to do that. We have to do that. And so we're looking at the whole thing. Yes.
It's the first time it's occurred to him.
So, and we may have some recommendations.
We may have some recommendations. I mean, it's just the presidency.
Second question on economics. Just with oil prices are very low.
Yeah.
The Saudis have increased production. I know that you've spoken about liking low oil prices, but then there's also the industry aspect.
Like from 1950, these oil prices. And that's when they had big dollars, big, beautiful dollars.
So do you,
Big, beautiful dollars.
do you advocate cuts? Do you advocate cuts to production? Do you?
Well, look, we have a great oil industry.
Yeah, why don't we stop production in the United States and purchase it from over there at a much lower rate? And then when the price goes up, increase production on our end.
And the oil industry
Keep it low intentionally for a long time.
is being ravaged. And as you
Ravaged. Oh, my lord, the oil industry is getting ravaged. I had no idea that they came over here. The consumer at the pump has torn my blouse. He told me all sorts of sordid stories. I've been ravaged.
you know, Russia, and I spoke to President Putin.
I'm being ravaged right now, like I've never been ravaged before, big boy. This guy rolls in on a horse with no shirt and just tears my blouse.
Had a great call. Russia, Saudi Arabia. I spoke with the Crown Prince, so we had a great
We
call.
had a great conversation. I could barely hear him over the sound of the buzzsaw in the background.
But I think that they will work it out over the next few days.
Why?
If
Who gives a shit? Why would you want him to work it out if it's driving the price of oil down? We don't live off of the price of oil. We're not interested. Keep driving the price down. We'll use it all up and
you ask me, I think it's just,
yeah, you asked you.
it's too simple not to be able to. They both know what they have to do.
Raise the price, slow production.
So I think I have
Why would they?
confidence in both that they'll be able to work it out. But it's
Why? Why would you have confidence that Russia and Saudi Arabia competing over oil production in a fight they started themselves would work it out?
it has ravaged an industry worldwide, not here. I mean, worldwide, the oil industry has been ravaged. So there was a lot of oil production to start off with, and then on top
I was ravaged. The oil industry was ravaged. It's terrible what's happening.
of it, it got hit with the virus, and business went down 35, 40%. So that business is a tough one. And, you know, they have ships all over the sea. I told you yesterday, all over.
Ships all over the sea, full of oil. Where are all those ships we've sent down to South America and the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean to open fire on the drug mule ships? They're bumping into oil ships wherever they go.
To see massive tankers that they're using for storage. They go out and they just sit
They just park.
there. There's no place to go.
They're like Exxon Valdez's waiting to happen.
They have massive amounts. Now, gasoline is going to be 99 cents a gallon and less. You know that. That's already starting. It's popping up. 99 cents. So that's like giving a massive tax cut to people of our country.
It's still $3 here.
When we try and get the airlines going,
and it's already been $30 a gallon or a barrel, $40 a barrel.
If fuel is costing much less, it helps with getting the airlines, which is always a tough business, always has been a tough business.
Yeah.
But with that being said, look, I want to get that industry back where.
Yeah, I want to help the airlines with the low oil prices, helping them, but I want the oil prices to be higher because of the industry there.
As we were doing records in that industry also. We want to get it back to where it was. So I think that Saudi Arabia, Russia, they're negotiating, they're talking, and I think
they're negotiating, they're talking, they're making deals, and they want to make a deal, and I have every reason to believe they're going to make a deal. Why? Just because.
I think they'll
feeling, belief, and information. Like
come up with something. I'm going to meet with the oil companies on Friday.
Why?
I'm going to meet with independent oil producers.
Why?
Also on Friday or Saturday.
Why? We are flush with oil. We don't.
Maybe Sunday.
What to tell? How about this? Cut the production. Tell them to cut production. Drive it down even further. Hold their reserves. Let them sell out their reserves. Let the rest of the world burn it. Don't put our stuff into the world market. And then when we do need it later, it'll be at a higher price. How about that?
But we're having a lot of meetings on it. I think I know what to do to
Oh God.
solve it. But if
Really? What?
they're unable to solve it, then I think I know what to do to solve it.
What would you do to solve it?
Can you give
Well,
us a glimpse
we
of what
won't
you're
mention
doing?
it now, but
What we do is bomb some of their fields so they can't produce oil.
it's tough. I think I know what to do to solve it. We don't want to lose our great oil companies. You know, we're the #1 producer of oil in the world. And a month ago when you said that, it was great. Today when you say it, it's not so meaningful.
It's not, nothing is meaningful in this situation. There are no industries getting ahead except maybe pharmaceutical companies.
But I do believe there's a way that that can be solved, or
What is it?
pretty well solved.
Pretty well solved? Almost solved. That's what I specialize in almost deals.
And I'd rather not do that. I think that Russia and Saudi Arabia at some point are going to make a deal in the not too distant future, because it's very bad for Russia. It's very bad for Saudi Arabia. It's very bad. I mean, it's bad for both. So I think they're going to make a deal.
Why? And who gives a shit? Why do we want oil to be more expensive?
You know, the free market is a wonderful thing.
It's not the free market. That's not the free market. They are actively manipulating oil production to affect the price in a battle over who can choke the other one out.
It's amazing.
That's not the free market.
Amazing how it can work.
That's not it working. This is a fantastic example of a situation where the free market has no play. If you create a phone and I create a phone, our phones are in competition, and the free market dictates what our users want, what kind of bells and whistles I can do based on what I can sell, and neither one of us has a lead on the other. But if I'm born on top of oil and you're born on top of oil, and we have a dick measuring contest to decide what the price of oil should be, that's not the free market. What the shit is he talking about?
But I think they're going to make a deal. Yeah.
Do you know what the free market is? Oil's worth what it's worth. You know what it's worth right now? $20 a barrel. Probably 10 if they actually just pumped what they could physically pump.
Yeah, please, with that.
Mr. President, a couple of questions, one for you, one for Mr. Wolf, if possible. Over
Mr. Who?
5 million immigrants in this country do pay taxes through their IT.
What did they call Fauci? Does Fauci have the nickname the Wolf? See, when I don't work as the head of infectious disease at the CDC, I am, most people know this because I'm from Brooklyn, an assassin for hire.
Numbers, yet they will not receive any money.
He's like, don't call me the Wolf. There's people around.
In their stimulus package.
Wait, did he just pinch her ass? Mother's not around. We might all die. Gotta go for it.
And no undocumented immigrant will receive any aid from the government during this crisis. How do you suppose they survive during the COVID-19?
Go home.
Well, you know, you're saying undocumented, meaning they came in illegally. And a lot of people would say we have a lot of citizens right now that won't be working. So what are you going to do? It's a tough thing. It's a very sad question. I must be honest with you. But they came in illegally. And we have a lot of people that are citizens of our country that won't be able to have jobs. Now, I do think once we get rid of the virus, I think we're going to have a boom economy. I think it's going to go up rather quickly, maybe very quickly, and maybe slowly. But it's...
You got that? Everybody got that covered? All four of those points? Mike, I think it's going to go up fast, or not, maybe not as fast, or extremely fast, or very slowly. We'll see what happens.
It's going to go up, and it'll all come back. And I think it's actually going to come back stronger.
Yes, there's a bunch of industries that will rebound. There's a bunch of them that won't. Like, dude, you can't... I think airlines are going to pack people in there again before we have a vaccine?
It was because of the stimulus. But it's a really sad situation, and we are working on it. I will tell you, I'm not going to give you a hard and fast answer because I just want to tell you.
Because I don't know, and I don't consider it.
It's something I think about, and it's something we're working on.
Something I think about, something we're working on.
Please.
Mr. Wolf?
Go ahead.
Thanks, Mr. President. A question for Dr. Fauci. Looking beyond when we're on the other side of this curve, are we looking at living with some sort of social distancing guidelines?
Yes, for a certain amount of time.
Essentially until there's treatment or...
I don't know why I became Columbo for a second. I don't have Fauci's voice yet because I respect him, so I have no interest. I come from the other side of the school, which is imitation is the most insincere form of flattery.
Vaccine, for example, people looking forward to the summer talk about, going to baseball games, going to concerts. We have political conventions over the summer. Are things like that possible or safe without a vaccine or a treatment in place?
Yeah, I think if we get to the part of the curve that Dr. Burke showed yesterday, when it goes down to essentially no new cases, no deaths at a period of time, I think it makes sense that you're going to have to relax social distance.
Good camera move on relax, dude. That was nice. Just waited for the signal to pull back. Yeah, they're going to relax it. Absolutely. They're going to have to. But the biggest tool in dealing with that relaxing is these Abbott tests being available basically at every place of business for a while. Because if you can walk in for an appointment and go, hey, do you mind getting a COVID test? Because we've got a bunch of people working in here. We can't afford to get sick. And then you could take the test, sit over there for 15 minutes before your meeting, and then you come back negative. You can head into the meeting, and if you come back positive, you're like, dude, come back in a couple of weeks, and you should probably go get it. Testing is the only remedy.
Distancing.
Because we don't have a cure and we don't have any treatments.
One thing we hopefully would have in place, and I believe we will have in place, is a much more robust system to be able to identify someone who's infected,
otherwise known as what Hal said.
Isolate them, and then do contact tracing.
Remind me again, I don't have a PhD, and I once wore a green screen jumpsuit with water balloon breasts on G4.
If you have a really good program of containment that prevents you from ever having to get into mitigation, we're in mitigation
testing
right now. That's what the social
right
and
faster you get the Abbott tests online, the faster people who don't have it can actively move about, and you can protect places of business, ships,
physical distance.
Honestly, if you had a test for this, or even some of the diseases that regularly show up on cruise ships, people could show up and do a mandatory 3-point swab, and you could keep people from bringing disease onto these ships as they return from ports and stuff. And you just work in a half an hour for everybody to hang out, go get your test, and get back on the boat.
Is the ultimate solution to a virus that might keep coming back.
Vaccine
would be a vaccine. In fact, I was on the weekly conference call with the WHO-sponsored group of all the health leaders in the world.
They pay the phone bill?
Who are dealing with this.
They're sponsoring it?
And we all came to the...
You have to wear a big sticker on your racing jacket?
Agreement that we may have cycling with another season. We'll be much better prepared. We likely will have interventions. But the ultimate game changer in this will be a vaccine, the same way...
Well, no. The game changer would be hydroxychloroquine, Pop Rocks, and Clorox.
A vaccine for other diseases that were scourges in the past that now we don't even...
It's pronounced scourge. You see everybody around him passive-aggressively trying to get him to pronounce scourge properly. Oh, it's glorious.
Even worry about.
And Tony, how are they doing with the vaccine stuff?
I mean, the vaccine is, as I said, it's on target. We're still in phase 1. There were 3 doses.
I like the sound of phase 1. I'm in phase 1 with my China negotiations. That's the part where they buy a bunch of pork and I pretend that they didn't lie about the numbers of dead.
That we had a test. We've been through the first 2 doses. We're on the highest dose now. When we get that data, it'll take a few months to get the data to feel confident to go to the phase 2. And then a few months from now, we'll be in phase 2. And I think we're right on target for the year to a year and a half.
And if you don't mind me asking, you and Dr. Birx, have either of you received threats of any kind, or have you been given a security detail, given that you've been out here every day on camera speaking?
Well, I mean, anything that has to do with security detail, I'd have to have you refer that question to the Inspector General of HHS rather
That's a yes.
than my answer to that.
Of course they have Secret Service protection. Every enemy of the country wants one of them to get sick.
Can I follow up on testing?
He doesn't need security. Everybody loves him.
Hey, he doesn't need security. Everybody loves him. You don't understand, dumbass. If you're a cartel right now, getting somebody to cough on Dr. Fauci is goal number 1.
Says that they'd be in big
call it phase 1.
trouble if they ever attack. He was a great basketball player. Did anybody know that?
He's a short guy. I didn't even know short guys could play basketball.
He was a little on the short side for the NBA, but he was talented. He won a game. I read the story. He won a game that was unwinnable against a great team.
Apparently it wasn't unwinnable. Somebody won it.
And his whole team said, we can't beat this team. And he went in and they won the game, right? That was a couple of years ago. But a few years ago. The head never changes. The attitude never changes.
He's always got that go get him. He's like, let's go for the three-pointer at the buzzer.
Could I ask Dr. Fauci?
Yes, please.
Because I know he loves being up behind the podium.
He
so
does.
much. It's like pulling
Watch it.
teeth, like going to the dentist.
I didn't get a harumph from that guy. You watch your ass. Gentlemen, watch your sphincters. Well put.
I don't want to hit you with everything that's coming along, but a lot of people who are watching television today heard from a researcher named Dr. Jacob Granville, who's come up with a potential antibody therapy that he has given to USAMRIID. Just wanting to know if you know anything about this, what you might be able to tell people at home about it who have seen it.
You know, John, I don't know specifically this individual, what they're doing, but I can tell you there's a lot of activity that is centered around a passive transfer of antibodies in the form of convalescent plasma. One, the number is...
Fauci, I love you, man. You got to tell people what convalescent plasma is. Basically, you're taking the blood plasma from somebody who's already gone through it, and they have antibodies for the disease present in their blood, and you can give them an infusion of plasma that carries those antibodies over there if you prep it and don't sterilize it and kill it. Like, basically, I mean, it's more complicated than that, but essentially what you're doing is transferring healthy blood to somebody who hasn't caught it yet. So their body thinks they've already caught it and already has the antibodies. They produce those antibodies themselves.
Is to get immune globulin that you precipitate
globulin
out of the plasma.
Mr. President, what does globulin mean? Because Mother says that goblins are devil's angels who come here to hurt us. Is a globulin the same thing? Should I go pray?
And another is monoclonal antibody. It's based on the same principle of if you have a protective antibody, passive transfer of that could provide not only protection prophylactically, but also treatment.
Don't say prophylactic in front of the president. There might be a porn star present.
This is an old concept. In fact, immunology was born decades and decades and decades ago with the concept of giving passive transfer of serum to an individual to protect them from an infection. So I wouldn't be surprised if he and a number of other people are pursuing this. It's the right thing to do.
Can I follow
Yeah, we know.
up on antibody testing, please, Dr. Fauci? At what point can we as a country expect there to be a widespread antibody testing so we know exactly what we're dealing with here, as well as other questions such as, when can people who are deemed to be healthy donate blood, for example?
Okay, so when you talk about antibody testing, there are a couple of things that you want to do. You want to find out if someone has been infected and whether or not they're going to ultimately wind up being protected. Antibody testing right now is not the first thing on our priority. It's something that we need to do is testing to see if someone is infected. It is very important ultimately to be able to get a feel for what the penetrance of the infection was in society for a number of reasons.
Well, and especially if you have antibodies to it, you can go back to work. If you're a medical practitioner of any sort, nurse, doctor, whatever, and you actually have the antibodies, you're way safer. You can go back to like the normal use of PPE instead of having to change it every single time.
You get a better feel of what the impact has been, but also...
Although spreading from one person to the other by using the same gloves is still a problem, never mind.
You get a better feel of what the herd immunity would be. So I can foresee in the future...
It's my herd immunity sound effect.
Sure. That when we get the facility, which we'll have for sure, I mean, ultimately you can get a test that could do this reasonably easy, and do the kind of what we call serosurveillance study. This is very analogous that Dr. Birx and I were talking about that a lot.
Yeah, you can tell because your voice is worn out. You need some sleep.
And that is back in the day.
Get him a glass of water, please.
When
a lozenge.
She and I were both doing the HIV/AIDS issues back when we first discovered
the HIV/AIDS, not a good sentence.
The virus in '83, and we had an antibody test in 1985. We found out by serial surveillance representative in different populations, that we were dealing with the tip of the iceberg when we saw individuals who were the ones who actually got infected. It gave us a really good feel for how many people were infected, how many are doing well, and how many are getting ill. I foresee that we'll have that same sort of information, which will be important information. But right now, that's not our immediate problem.
Not your priority, but can you give a sense of whether it will happen this year?
Let me just follow up with that because
I haven't had a chance to talk yet or whatever. By the way, scarves are available at deborahburks.org.
I think,
.gov.
as I discussed,
the president has wonderfully relaxed the laws on government officials selling private items for profit. He's erased the emoluments clause while this has been going on, so scarves.
before we had I just want to thank all the epidemiologists and the scientists out there who worked with us over the last 4 weeks on models. They really...
They're not good with models. They barely date. I mean, that's dating way outside their pay grade.
Many came forward and really supported us. Right now, we're in talks with a whole series of universities. We have the most brilliant scientists in the world, and our
those dumb scientists are really aggravating. You mean like the climate denier ones?
Universities in state after state.
The ones they have on Fox.
Some of them public health universities, some of them basic science. All of them have received NIH grants for HIV or other development of assays in the past. I've talked to a lot of them over the last few days to really ask them to develop these simple ELISA tests that could be used rapidly in their healthcare centers, because immediately it's easy to do. We've all developed ELISAs. So in a day or two after
the ELISA test.
development, they could screen their entire hospital. I
don't know if you know this, but ELISA was ravaged by the oil production of Saudi Arabia.
That would be very reassuring to the healthcare workers who have been on the front line. We worry about them every day. And so I've really called on every university and every state to develop ELISAs. You can buy the antigens and the controls online and really work to test entire healthcare communities in your states and support them that way. At the same time, we worked in sub-Saharan Africa on what we call dried blood spots. So we're looking at, could you use that in a community while we work on the point of care test, where you just dot blood onto this paper, and then that can go into the lab and be analyzed. That would allow us to look in nursing homes and other long-term care facilities immediately. And then finally, we've reached out to the developers of the rapid test, the ones who developed it for malaria, the ones that developed them for HIV. It's
Trump's board.
Exactly the same concept and process, to ask them to rapidly develop these tests, because I think we owe it to the frontline healthcare providers.
Yes, we do.
Providers, not only to provide them RNA tests, but many of them have been on the front line now for 4 weeks, may have become exposed. We now know there's asymptomatic. And I think really being able to tell them the peace of mind that would come from knowing you already were infected, you have antibody, you're safe from reinfection 99.9% of the time.
Still every other pathogen that exists in a hospital, including staph, which is going to be overflowing because of the volume of patients, but go on.
And so this, I think, would be very reassuring to our frontline healthcare workers, and our universities can do that by Friday. So I'm putting that challenge out to them to really work on that.
To not make me a liar.
And do that. That's what we did in the early days. We had ELISAs up and running within days of having the antigen. And so this is what's really possible. So we're not waiting. We're asking for help now.
So potentially this could happen soon, even within this month, if people
It could
take up
happen
that
soon
challenge?
within this month.
Yes, they've had the genetic breakdown of the disease since January.
The universities help us, absolutely.
Excuse me, Deborah, let me step in on the big science questions. Excuse me, do you don't mind if I lurk you like I did Hillary, right?
Mr. President. Mr. President.
Oh, that's not social distancing that's happening right there. Where's his left hand going? Hello.
Florida.
You wait till we're done. I'm going to ravage you.
Governor DeSantis says that he spoke with you before issuing his state.
He did. Spoke to me this morning.
He has some loopholes in that for
That I don't know. He spoke to me this morning.
There's no loopholes.
For religious events, for example,
Very good
large
governor.
religious groups can meet together. Now that doesn't really agree.
Who can?
Religious groups,
I
like
didn't
churches
speak to
can
him
meet.
about it, but he did speak to me this morning. We talked about it. Please.
full mitigation, sir. Does that go against your model? Because that's not full
I
mitigation.
don't know, I'd have to look at what he did.
What he did was allow churches and religious groups to gather, which is not, I don't know, according to the chart yesterday, doing everything we can.
The healthcare workers on the front lines, following up with Dr. Birx as well, hazard pay. You have said you have wanted that for the healthcare workers on the front
Yeah, I think that the Dukes should be able to they should be able to write their own ticket. I've always been a big fan of the Dukes, and
lines. I know Secretary Mnuchin has mentioned something about that possibly in the
I like it.
fourth level of the stimulus
I
package.
like it.
But can you make it happen now? Do we have to wait for a fourth
Well,
stimulus?
I think it's something we're discussing in terms of bonus or bonus pay. It doesn't have to be called hazard pay, it could be called, hey, look, I watched those.
why don't you call it? What's wrong with calling it hazard pay? It is hazard pay.
People go into hospitals that I know. I talked about one of them, right? But I watched them walk into those hospitals, and they walk in men, women, young, middle-aged, not so many older ones. And I watch them. They're almost like
soldiers.
And I think I take the word almost out. They're like warriors.
Okay, yeah, they're warriors. Like they walk in and they see coronavirus and they kick it in the chest and go, "This is Sparta."
They're going in. People are cheering. Where there's a building across the street,
yes, we've seen that.
People are screaming. They're clapping. They're like heroes.
The Empire State
No,
Building.
no. I
right
will
up the
tell you.
top.
I think it's incredible. They're like warriors. They're like soldiers.
No, they're like medical technicians, nurses, and doctors, which is enough. They have value in society of a very high level.
And we're gonna be doing something for them. So whether it's bonus, because we're hopefully going to be over this
Don't say bonus, Mr. President. I get jealous.
relatively quickly. It's going to be vicious for a period of time.
Mm-hmm.
But hopefully we're going to be over this. You have a lot of questions today.
You had a lot of questions today. What's that with how many? You're like PPE with your questions.
Look at you.
There's
You
a
know
lot-
this young lady behind you?
Never met her before in my life.
We're practicing social distancing.
That's good. That's a good idea.
That's a good idea. Isn't that funny? You guys can't get together because of disease.
Our marriage strong.
It's good for a marriage, right?
There are a lot of people who are worried about getting sick, and do they end up in a hospital? People who are uninsured, and will they be crushed by medical bills? You were considering last month already in March, reopening the healthcare.gov exchanges. There has been a determination not to do that. Could you tell us what the rationale was behind that?
Well, in a very short period of time, we're going to come out with the Republican plan, which is so much better and cheaper and faster and smaller and bigger and longer and cheaper and faster and better. And so,
Okay, you might-
And what you have as an alternative?
Okay, they took that up under the task force, and maybe Mike, you want to say a few words about that?
Well, thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President, even though we're in the midst of something so enormous and deadly, we have decided that it is better to try and choke the shit out of the American people's desire to survive.
And
We'll not give up our.
what I can tell you is that the President has made a priority from the outset of our task force work. Make sure every American knows that they can have a coronavirus and they don't have to worry about the cost.
Yeah. But if they can't get medical treatment because the hospital is completely jacked up and they don't have insurance to cover something, and what small turns into a big illness or a big injury because they had to wait because the hospital was overrun by coronavirus, it would help if they had access to insurance.
We were very inspired as well because of the President's engagement with the leading health insurance companies in the country that now, so far, two of the top health insurance companies in America have announced that they're not only willing to waive copays on testing, and now testing is fully covered because of the bill the President signed.
Yeah. It's in the Democrats added that, the Republicans signed off on it, everybody's for that. Why would you charge people to get tested for something they could pass on to everybody else?
For every American. But also that these two insurance companies have waived copays on all coronavirus treatment.
Yeah, that's not the problem though, because the ancillary aspect of this, the cascading effect of everybody not being able to get treatment for even normal diseases, or let's say they had elective surgeries that become malignant because of the time that they took, their medical bills go up, and if their insurance went away because they lost it because of their job, and they can't buy into the, all right,
And
they don't give a shit.
can assure you that as Congress and the President and the administration begin to discuss the next piece of legislation, we're going to make sure that Americans have those costs compensated and covered. Our priority right now is
Yeah, because that's the only disease hitting Americans right now.
ensuring that every American takes the 30 days to slow the spread to
Oh, I mean, I thought it was. Oh, where's your cardboard cutout?
heart.
Pence, come on, hold it up.
The best
know you
thing we
brought
can
it.
do.
Oh no, maybe you didn't. He didn't get to bring it today because he wasn't out there at the beginning. He's. Oh my God, this is like seeing Carrot Top do straight stand up. It's amazing.
For one another, for our family's health, for the most vulnerable among us,
Yeah.
is practice those mitigation strategies that the President outlined yesterday for the next 30 days. We're dealing with testing to make sure that every American can have a test that needs one. We're dealing with supplies, and we're making great progress in building personal protective equipment and ensuring that ventilators are available, particularly for the communities most impacted. But the American people can be confident that as we move into this, we're going to make sure that our healthcare workers are properly compensated.
Dude, if you kill the shark that is attacking you, the water is still full of other sharks.
For their extraordinary and courageous work.
Mm.
And we'll make sure that the financial burden on those who
You should ask a question.
end up
Me, I can
contracting the
answer it.
coronavirus and dealing with its most serious symptoms also can deal with those issues and deal with those costs.
Understood, Mr.
I'm doing my bob and weave. This is I call this one the bob and weave.
Vice President, but there will be people who don't have insurance who get sick before any of these mitigation efforts are put into place. And without opening the healthcare exchanges, where can they find insurance? People who aren't insured by these companies
You don't get the point here.
that are covering the cost of the COVID.
Under the president's guidance, anybody who doesn't previously have insurance has the mark of the beast and needs to be removed. I mean, look, there's a simple system of just putting the blood of a sheep on your front door, and we'll know.
Okay. Where can people go now to get health insurance?
To hell?
If they get sick, before they get sick.
Well,
Pound sand?
all across America, we have Medicaid for underprivileged Americans. And at
Everybody's underprivileged now. You just had 5 million people get unemployment.
the President's direction,
2 days.
the Center for Medicaid and Medicare Services has given unprecedented waivers for states to expand coverage for coronavirus testing and treatment.
Yeah, we're not talking about testing and treatment. There are all kinds of other illnesses. If you lose your insurance because you lost your job because of COVID-19, or you've been forced by the government not to go to work because your job's been made illegal, because it requires the gathering of more than 2 people, and you get your insurance through your job, where are you going to get it now?
We've also
And you don't qualify for Medicare or Medicaid because the rest of the year it's going to show up on your taxes that you make too much money
extended waivers for
because you make a living.
Medicare administration to make sure that people have access to that coverage.
You mean expand it in all the states, in all 50 states, like the ACA intended?
But we're going to continue to bring opportunities to the president. The traditional.
We're going to continue to try to talk him into doing some of the things that Obama did, and Mitt Romney also championed, but he just hates those names, so we're having a hard time.
Systems of Medicaid, in particular, for the uninsured in America.
Could you expand that to cover middle class people?
No.
I think what
The answer is no.
we're seeing health insurance companies do today, John, is really inspiring.
But no, it isn't. It's just about testing, because they know if you don't get tested and you spread it even more, their system's going to get overrun, and they're going to end up spending every dime they have fighting this disease. There is no actuarial table where this is profitable for them.
I mean,
they're not doing it out of the goodness of their hearts, jackass.
One of the
things that the president likes to do is look up the word Obama in a Google search.
I'm sorry to belabor a point, but that's for people who
Go do the opposite.
Its
That's
approach
for
here.
people who already have insurance.
Well, one of the things that has animated and characterized the president's approach is the way he's engaged American businesses to step up and do their part. And as
No. They're not going to do this. There is no upside to them extending regular insurance to people.
As the president said many times, we're inspired by the spirit,
aren't we? Walmart. Tell me about Walmart.
Of American businesses.
People
I was
can
at
go
a
out and get a leg set in a Walmart parking lot right now.
distribution center for Walmart today.
Dude, did I call it? Did I call it? I wish I wasn't as good at this as I am, but let's forget. I mean, some of you may not think I'm qualified to talk on these things, even though I'm clearly nailing it. But I would remind you that I was in one episode of Frasier.
In Southern Virginia. And I saw the way this company that literally has already hired thousands of people. These workers are coming to work. The truck drivers are coming to work. Farmers are working in the field.
Mm-hmm. With no testing and no PPE for themselves. A lot of them are actually starting to strike because they're concerned that the stuff they're handling will get them sick. But please continue.
Grocery stores made a
grocery stores
commitment to the president a month ago that no grocery store in America would close down. The food,
even if everybody there gets sick and dies,
food supply is strong.
Because these people are
we're getting food on the table of every American.
Yeah, so what does that have to do with insurance that people get through their jobs?
But it's because the president went to these leaders and said, we need you to step up and do your part.
And they said, yeah, we were going to do that already.
We engaged.
Yeah, no, this is a great time to sell food to people stockpiling. Yeah, we're basically Prepper Central now.
Health insurance executives early on in this process to waive copays on coronavirus testing.
We're not talking about the testing.
And because of the engagement, and frankly, because of that patriotic and compassionate spirit that's being reflected, we've already seen two of the largest insurance companies
waive the copays and waive the treatments because they got busted for charging somebody $30,000.
Country announced that they're going to be providing full coverage free of charge.
Because it's a contagion. It's a contagion, jackass.
I fully expect, I think as the president does too, that we'll see more of that for people that have insurance. We'll continue to provide flexibility for Medicaid.
You mean like people with like government insurance, like yourself and the president and everybody on that stage?
For people that don't have
everybody in the office behind you,
insurance, and we'll make sure that Medicare has.
You mean like a public option, for example, where people could buy into the system that you use?
Flexibility.
Maybe that.
To meet this moment,
which is popular with 70% of the American public right now and would pass instantly if voted on.
For seniors, when we remember that seniors with underlying health conditions are the most vulnerable to serious outcomes from the coronavirus.
Yeah. What part of there are other diseases in the world do you not understand? Yeah, Fauci's like, Lord, strike him with a lightning bolt.
But we'll get through this using the full weight of the federal government and the full strength of the American.
No, you're not using the full weight of the federal government. If you're using the full weight of the federal government, you would open the ACA enrollments.
John, I think
that's using the.
I think it's a very fair question, though, and it's something we're really going to look at because it doesn't seem fair. If you have it, you have a big advantage, and at a certain income level, you do. I think it's one of the greatest answers I've ever heard because Mike was able to speak for 5 minutes and not even touch your question.
No, what the shit?
I said that's what.
Did you see that? He talked for 5 minutes and didn't even touch your question. Oh my God.
That's what you call a great professional.
That's what you call a great professional. What?
But let me just tell you, you really are. It's really a fair question, and it's something we're looking at.
It's something we're looking at, like everything else we're looking at. We're thinking about very strongly. Wait a minute. Hold on. I'm going to think about something very strongly. Yeah, there was nothing there.
I mean, just in terms of a fair question, I always endeavor to ask fair questions, but this is a huge worry for people in this country who are in that donut.
Let me fuck this up.
They don't have
Mike, my podium. Move over.
Commercial insurance. They don't qualify.
Mike, why you're supposed? We had an agreement.
Qualify for Medicaid.
Right.
What do they
a certain
do?
group, and it's a pretty big group. We're looking at it.
I mean, we spent the entire 2000 election.
Yeah, that's a big
talking about the donut.
Get out of the mic.
Hole.
Mike,
And it's
step out of the way.
still there.
Jesus.
We are
looking at it very strongly, and we're thinking about it very strongly, and it's something we're considering that we'll consider when we consider it.
I haven't been up there yet, though. You know, the other people have been talking about it.
No, I mean.
The other people?
And they haven't spoken.
This was 20 years ago we were talking about it.
But they're talking about it. They're talking about it. I know, but they're talking about it in the 2020 election too, and nobody's gotten to it. Nobody's talked about it at all.
Mr. President?
I think we will. Yeah, I think we're going to get to it. I think we're going to get to it. I don't think the other group will get to it. They haven't even spoken about it, and it's a big group of people.
What, the uninsured? What?
Are you committing that there's
No, I'm
something
not
you're
committing,
gonna
but it's
do
something
for
we're
the
going to look at.
uninsured
I can't
first?
commit. I have to.
I can't commit. I don't commit to stuff like that. I'm going to go back there, take a call from Russia. They'll tell me what to say, and it happens.
Get approval from it.
I don't know what the hell he's talking about, Rob. I don't know what that is.
I have a thing called Congress, but
Yeah, that's what he's listening to.
it's something we're
I got to go ask Mitch if this is something on the list that they gave me.
going to look at, and we have.
Well, congratulations, Al Vickery. He goes, I'm completely lost. Join the club. That was gibberish.
Been looking at it.
In the,
Something I'm looking at very strongly. Like,
You-
watch
you-
this. I'm going to look at you very strongly. Do you feel that?
you mentioned in this congressional bill, the sort of phase 4, you
It was 2.
would like
We haven't hit. Do we hop past 3?
to see something.
If there is a
good
phase
there.
4, but we're certainly
We're not even. If there is, you called this phase 3, phase 4 already.
looking at certain things. We want to help restaurants, entertainment. We want to help because
Phase 4 for me is companies can write off going out for dinner in groups in the middle of a coronavirus outbreak.
it's jobs, not that restaurants.
It's the jobs. I don't care about restaurants. I care about the jobs. I don't know what people do there. I just know those are people I don't tip.
It's jobs, tremendous amounts of jobs.
Jobs, it's jobs,
Jobs.
jobs.
So we're looking at that. We're looking at infrastructure.
Are we looking at it? How are we looking at it? What does it look like? Can you describe what you saw?
We think of it. We will have spent $8 trillion, and you know, it's way back. We're way pulled back, but we will have spent $8 trillion
on the Iraq War, right?
in the Middle East.
Yeah, exactly.
And yet our roads are in bad shape, our bridges, our tunnels.
Yeah, the Democrats have been fighting for infrastructure, not spending it overseas for ages.
Bad
You're gonna freak out the Republicans,
shape.
and you'll roll it back later.
And we're going to be the talk of the world again soon. But we want $2 trillion.
We are the talk of the world. Do you realize they have more cases than China?
We will have spent in the Middle East, and all we got out of it was death. And cost. But all we got out of it was death. Millions of people. You have to look at the other side too. Millions and millions of people killed. Our great soldiers, thousands killed, so many wounded, hurt. And yet when we want to go and fix a road someplace, we want
Jesus, he sounds like AOC right now.
to do what we
What I'm presenting, if you think about it, is something I call a new deal, because I make deals. Deals are very important to me, and this is a new deal, and it's because what's a color people associate with new? There's a color. I'm trying to think of it. I can't think of it right now. There's a color what's that color? Oh yeah.
want to do in our country. No, it's time that we spend money on our country. That's what we're going to do. It's time.
Yeah, that's what Democrats have been arguing about forever. Who I'm tapping for the next president is Joe Biden. That's what we need to do. So I'm gonna just hand it off to him. I'll be in the Caymans.
That we
I'm buying Epstein's Island.
start spending on our roads and our bridges and our schools and all of the things that we're supposed to be spending on. And people are finally getting used to it. And you could look at all of what we've done in the Middle East, way back in so many different places, way back in other countries
Oh wait, holy shit, guys! Is it infrastructure week?
too, by the way. And I've gone to other countries that are very rich. I said, I'm sorry, you're going to have to reimburse us for our costs. They don't even want to know what I'm talking about. It takes them 20 minutes to figure it out because nobody's ever asked them to do that. And they're doing it. They're doing it. And they have
doing it. Thank you, Georgina.
no choice. They have to do it.
They have to do it.
So it's time that we start spending on the USA. Okay, please.
Mr. President,
Please, one more question.
this is
and
a
then-
question for the Vice President. On March
Really? Because I just got the podium back from him.
9th, you said 1
Smells like aqua velva.
million tests had been delivered and another 4 million would be delivered by the end of the week. That clearly did not happen. What happened with those projections? What went wrong?
Oh, that's a nasty question. I wish you'd have given it to me. I would call you a nasty reporter and nasty. Mike, hold up your prop.
Well, I think the test kits were delivered,
Oh, you do?
according to HHS, but
Oh, so it's Alex Azar. What the president wants me to do right now is throw Alex Azar under the bus. HHS should have sent these out.
the difference is between receiving a test and the ability
Taking a test and processing a test and sending back the details.
to rapidly produce a result to that test. And frankly, because of the public-private partnership that the president initiated now more than a month ago with our massive commercial laboratories across the country.
Oh my God, man.
Our team was reported today that we're now doing more than 100,000 tests a day.
Yeah. That's the same number you've been using for the last 8 days. You said 800,000 twice, so everybody thought it was 1.6 million. It hasn't been. You said millions and millions 2 weeks ago.
More than 1.2 million tests have been performed. States have
There's a backlog.
established drive-through sites all across the country.
No, they haven't.
In fact,
Like 4 of them.
States have been so successful with the community-based and drive-through testing that we're working to transition over completely all of the federal work on drive-through testing and
To
have
the states. We're blowing it off
the states completely manage that process.
because we don't know where shit is or what to do with it.
But
The backlog is literally through you guys. So basically, this is him admitting they're the choke point. See, the problem is that you have a bottleneck caused by incompetence.
4 million tests were delivered by the end of that week.
HHS was very busy from early in the year delivering test kits around the country.
They were? Why? It was a hoax. There was 15 cases. It was going to go to 1. There's one old lady. She's sick. Why'd you spread it? I thought, well, that's a big expense. What a waste of time.
But the difference was,
Send those people home.
as the president said many times, we had an antiquated system
Did we? Why are you sending an antiquated system out?
where a state laboratory or CDC only had the capacity to process 40 to 60 tests a day. Now with the commercial labs, literally those labs are processing tens of thousands of tests every day.
Yeah, with no help from you. That's the states had to go and do this on their own. You guys were the state tests were separate from the tests that you guys were supposed to send. You were supposed to be in addition to these,
So while we're continuing
not in lieu of,
to
or the states were supposed to pick up the slack where you fucked up and
distribute test kits around the country, now because of the
Jesus.
partnership with
Thanks for the heads up.
with companies like Roche and Quest and LabCorp, the American people are
All stocks that I bought through a shell company right now.
seeing the results of those tests more rapidly than at any point in the past, and we expect
Yeah, you mean there are more COVID-19 tests being done now than say last year when it didn't exist?
that will continue to expand. But the exciting news this weekend about Abbott Laboratories having a 15-minute test
Super great. Where is it? Isn't here yet.
approved is going to put us in a position we believe down the road.
Down the road. Big accent on down the road. Where you can ride it like a cowboy.
To get to where Dr. Fauci and Dr. Birx want us to be for many of the states that don't yet have significant
Christ.
outbreak. There's some
You know, it's kind of like how India got telecom faster than
19
other countries who did it because we had to lay a bunch of wires because we did it first, and India just ended up having cell phones.
states where we don't
You know, it's like that, only like not 100 years.
have significant outbreak, but we want to be doing the kind of surveillance testing in those states that will allow us early on to identify people with the coronavirus, do what the experts call contact tracing, and ensure that in that state we don't have an outbreak of the
What the, dude, this is what you talk about before Louisiana happens. There are cases in every state.
coronavirus. So
And many countries all over the world want to know whether or not they can use, especially our new test that was just developed by Abbott, which is almost instantaneous, which is going to be great. And
Almost
remember this,
instantaneous. Great, I feel much better.
we inherited bad tests. We really inherited bad tests. These are
What bad?
horrible
What,
tests.
there were no tests. This is new.
And it was broken. It was all broken. And we fixed it. And we're doing millions of tests. Sometimes we send out a test and it's not used. In many cases, it was.
Again, this is like the friggin'. We sent a bunch of ventilators. Sure, they were broken, but they were in a warehouse in New Jersey. It's up to them to just. Why don't they go door to door knocking on warehouses going, did somebody drop off a bunch of ventilators here? They won't tell us.
It wasn't used. But we've worked with the states, and the testing has been.
No, you work with the tests, with the states, and the states went, shit, if we want to test our people, we're going to have to do it ourselves.
Pretty amazing, especially considering the fact that we inherited a very broken.
It wasn't a broken system. You broke it.
Broken system.
You broke it. You had a pandemic response team, and you sent them home.
Follow up on something you said.
In Benghazi language, you issued a stand down order.
Before, are you considering a temporary ban on all domestic flights?
We're considering everything, and then we're not considering everything. I'm not going to box myself in.
I am looking at hotspots.
Hotspots.
Looking where flights are going into hotspots.
I got news for you. We don't have enough testing to know what's a hotspot and what isn't. The only way we know hotspots right now are people who require hospitalization. We do not know the cascading aspect of this because we don't have enough tests.
Some of those flights I didn't like from the beginning.
I didn't like that. When some of them, I mean, there's turbulence. They don't serve snacks in first class. If you don't have hot nuts, I'm not going.
But closing up every single flight on every single airline.
Nobody's asking to do that, stupid.
It's a very, very, very rough decision.
Jesus Christ! Just say this. They're businesses that must remain open that require some interstate travel, and some of it is from quote unquote hotspots. So we're going to maintain those flights, but we're going to require them to do extra cleaning on those flights and not overpack the flights. You can only sell a third of the capacity.
Decision, but we are thinking about hotspots where you go from spot to spot.
Look, I don't care if poor people can fly anywhere. Look, if you're not a private plane, you don't belong in the air.
Both hot, and we'll let you know fairly soon.
When I think about it, I don't know.
What about rail travel?
A similar thing.
Similar thing, a road trip. I don't know. I'm similarly not prepared to answer that question.
We have trains going back and forth, and people don't think of trains, but we do a lot of transportation business. It's a very big decision to do that. And we're pretty late in the process from the standpoint that this is starting. You're going to start seeing, I think, over the next couple of weeks, you're going to start to see us hit a top and start coming down. So we'll make those decisions. Those are very, very big decisions from the standpoint of the future of our country, in a way, in the future of our country.
I'm not asking you to shut down the trains permanently, jackass. The other thing, too, is trains are a better option than flying, actually. They take a little more time, but if you keep people distanced and windows can be open, you can keep the air from circulating in a cycle inside there, and with social distancing and enough trains, people don't have to be that close together.
We have to get our country back.
Yes, it's true. Trains do go back and forth. DB, Zab.
We have to start moving again.
Some of us are very constipated. I had a big cup of coffee and a bran muffin. Nothing.
To start working again.
Everybody's working, man.
They're doing tests.
We're just not at our jobs.
So an airline.
We're working with. This is a job dealing with your bullshit.
It's very strong tests for getting on, getting off. They're doing
Don't say getting off so close to Pence.
Doing tests on trains, getting on, getting off. But when you start closing up entire
boarding and disembarking
transportation systems and then opening them up, that's a very tough thing to do.
So hard. Somebody in the back. Where OAN? Somebody Fox News.
There continues to be a lot of public confusion about the use of masks. What
public confusion? You should see how confused we are back here.
is the
The
White
reuse. I love the sterilization of the masks. So
No, she's not what she's talking about. She's asking about whether people in the public should wear masks. Answer is yes.
Ohio company, you can
I got off on a train once. I'm just too much information, Rob, you think?
sterilize
Nice, you know what I mean? Ned Beatty was right. That's all I'm saying.
N95. You can sterilize that mask for up to 20 times. Think of that, up to 20 times. We're throwing them out. And they're very expensive masks.
No, they're not.
They're throwing them out. And I kept saying, one of the first questions I
Why don't you just turn them inside out like I do with my underwear?
asked to Dr. Fauci, I said,
Why can't they reuse the masks? And it's like, I don't see anything on them. It's not like they're splattered with blood.
why aren't they sterilized or cleaning the masks? Because I didn't, was it my thing exactly when we first heard about this? Nobody else knew it either. And now we have a company, and I guess a number of companies, one in Ohio, a great one, that makes equipment where you can sterilize a mask up to 20 times, which is fantastic.
What
Okay.
about you or me? What about the public? Should we be
Yeah, the question she actually asked, which is, should the public be wearing masks?
wearing masks out?
We've had this question a bunch of times. The answer is yes. Wear a mask when you go out.
Heard lots of
It's just going to stop you from touching your face. It's not going to stop the virus, but it'll keep you from picking it up off a surface and putting it in your hand. You're not going to be close enough to somebody to breathe in the air. God damn it. Pay attention. Who doesn't know this one already?
I don't believe, look, there's a big thing. A lot of people don't like it. Some people.
Nobody likes being alive during a pandemic. What the shit?
People don't like it because you're taking it away from the medical professionals.
No, they're not talking about those. They're talking about the cloth ones you can buy, the aftermarket ones that aren't good.
Some people don't like
that. You can't wear them in a medical facility, but you can wear them in general.
Like it for other reasons.
Just wear a scarf.
I don't
talking about.
See where it hurts, and it doesn't have to be a mask. It can be a scarf. Scarf is highly recommended.
I have a friend who was scarfing, and now he's in a coma.
By the professionals. I don't see where it hurts.
Amyl nitrate orange, very important.
I think, frankly, if people wanted to do it, we don't want to do anything that's going to take masks. You're talking about a tremendous amount of masks.
We're not talking about actual surgical masks. You're talking about the ones you wear in public.
You do that. We don't
cloth ones.
Want to take them away from our medical professionals, but I certainly don't see it hurting. But what I do see people doing now is using scarves. And I think in a certain way, depending on the fabric, I think in a certain way a scarf is better.
Okay, Doc, explain to me. I don't understand why all our doctors don't dress like bandits.
It's actually better.
Mr. President.
Yeah, please, you didn't get. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to ask you about social distancing and how it applies to religious organizations.
Yeah.
Some churches, as you know, have continued to hold services, even though you have advised people that they need to practice social distancing. There was a pastor of a mega church.
Yeah, he got asked that question already, and he dodged it.
In Florida over the weekend, who held service.
Good way to. Well, this guy's smart. He's asking the question backwards instead of going straight to the story about the governors haven't or shouldn't. He went to the groups gathering question.
That were attended by several hundred people. So my question to you is, should pastors be holding services in the middle of this pandemic? And even if they do, should Americans be going to
Well,
church?
my biggest disappointment is that churches can't meet in a time of need.
Yeah, that's the biggest disappointment that you have. I'm going to go with golf is canceled.
You know, this is.
But I'm sure it made the list.
Really a great time for church
electability elements.
Just to be together, for people to get together on a Sunday or whenever, any day and meet. And yet, if you do that, if you do it close, you're really giving this invisible enemy a very big advantage.
Protecting myself.
So it's the biggest, I think the single biggest disappointment is you can, one of the reasons I said, wouldn't it be great just to pick a date?
I'm on my way to church.
You know, I called it aspirational. An aspirational date would be Easter.
Oh my God, this is like he made up this date so he could get the evangelical vote.
And I will tell you, it's very, very disappointing. But again,
yeah, it's not that it's disappointing; it's that it's not a good idea.
You get too close, and if somebody's sick, you're going to probably catch it. So you have to be.
Now that I've pulled out the T-shirt and used it as a scarf, you know it's going to be prop time from now on these things. We got to keep it fresh.
Very careful.
Yeah, just real quickly, Joe Biden's campaign came out with a statement today saying that Biden would be.
Did he write the statement, or did some PR person write it?
As far as I know, the campaign was wide awake, sir, and they sent out a
Good.
statement that
For
Joe
change.
Biden would be open to having a phone call with you to talk about the coronavirus
That's
pandemic.
okay, sure.
Would you take his call? Would
Oh,
you?
absolutely.
You would talk to him
I'd
about
love
it.
to speak to him, sure.
Yeah, he's been talking to the governors. I'd like to yell at him for calling the governors and telling them what they can ask from us, ask for from us.
I'd be. He should be
Work
able
together.
to. I always found him to be a nice guy. I don't know him very well, frankly, but I think he's probably a nice guy. No, if he'd like to call, I'd absolutely take his call.
There you go. End it there.
You could tell him. All right.
Pass it on. Right. He doesn't know how to operate a TV set like I do.
We've talked about the failings of the
You set your television set on Fox, and you never touch it again. How hard is that to figure out?
Obama administration in leaving you with empty shelves and no plans.
Well,
They have
and
said,
no
"Oh,
Don't
ammunition.
turn it into a
they
fight.
have said
Maybe
you got
no
rid of the
ammunition.
Don't turn it into a fight that where there need be none. Don't be.
We didn't do that. That turned out to be a false story. Now you're starting to go. What are you working for CNN?
I'm pointing out what they have
Let's see. Let's see. You work for Fox. I'm supposed to be leaving.
said and what you have
That
said.
you were
That's
with
all.
Fox. Fox isn't so easy either. Don't kid yourself.
Don't kid yourself.
Hey, look, John, let me tell you something. You know that's a false story. What you just said is a false story. This doctor.
Oh, I hate it when mom and dad fight at the table. I'm just going to sit here and eat my beans.
Knows it better than anybody. No, but you shouldn't be repeating a story that you know is false. All right, who's not?
What that you disassembled the pandemic response team is true.
Please go ahead in the back. You didn't get it.
Somebody in the back. Somebody from one of these kiss-ass networks.
And Iran is struggling with the virus.
It's very sad what's happening.
Oh, we're going to be the Iran number. I'm skipping ahead a little because
Happy when we get the word that this is the time, and we have our common sense, and they'll give me a decision, or they'll be making certain statements, and I think I'll know how to interpret those statements very well. I'll be with Mike. I'll be with the task force. I'll be with a lot of very talented people,
I won't be golfing. I'll tell you that.
including the two people on stage with us. But I look forward. That'll be a great day. That'll be a great day. All right. How about one more, please?
Can I ask a question
One more. Then I have to sign off.
of Mr. Wolf? Can I ask a question for
Sure.
Secretary Wolf?
Check.
Oh, it's going to be for him. All right. Well, we'll skip that. He's fine. There's nothing wrong with what he's saying. How's this?
President and the task force.
Situation, you can understand. You have people that are sick on those ships, and states don't want to take. They have enough problems right now.
Norwegian Airlines.
They don't want to take them, but we have to from a humane standpoint. We don't have a choice. It's
Now you want to take them.
like I don't want to do that, but we have to. People are dying.
So they will be let into the country.
Yeah. Why didn't you want the ship that was off the coast of San Francisco that had Americans on it? Why didn't you want that? Those was going to screw up with your numbers.
We're going to do something. We're going to do something. At a minimum,
Different than nothing. Seems that I was busy doing something close to nothing, but different from the day before.
we're sending medical teams on board the ships. We're taking the Canadians off, and
You can pick them out. They're the ones who wear the raspberry beret.
giving them to
Canada,
Canadian authorities. They're going to bring them back home.
Mounties. You see them with the big hats.
The same thing with the UK. But we have to help the people. They're in big trouble.
Yeah. Now.
No matter where they're from. Happen to be Americans, largely Americans. But whether they were or not, they're dying. So we have to do something. And the governor knows that too.
Before being sent on?
Well, we're sending a lot of them home. Yeah, we're sending a lot of them home to their countries. But we'll be doing something, and we'll be announcing it. You'll see what we're doing. But we're also putting medical staff onto the ships so that we can, we have to take care of the people.
Mr. President.
Should have left on that one, man. You could have walked out saying you care about people, even though the ship with Americans on it, you didn't want to bring those people ashore because it was going to screw with your numbers early on. But now it's important. Now you know. Now that they've seen you, the actual.
Risk of getting chewed out again.
Now you won't.
Mr. President, the IRS is requiring people who don't normally file income tax to file a simple income tax return in order to get their $1,200 check. Is that the way it's going to be, or is there something?
Look, we're trying to register everyone in the country so that we can track everyone. In an ironic twist of the whole thing that Alex Jones and those guys always said that the Democrats were going to do with FEMA and all that stuff. We're doing all that stuff, so we totally.
You can do.
I had heard that. Now
I heard that, but I don't really. I was.
I don't know. Do you know that answer, Mike?
We will look into it.
IRS issued some guidance.
Yeah.
It sounds like it.
It's not at the
we'll
bill,
get.
but
Sounds about right, but we'll look.
We can get back. Yeah, it's a process that they're working on. We'll get back to you as soon as we find out. All right, one more,
As soon as we find out, it's your directive.
please.
Mr. President, you spoke with President Bolsonaro of Brazil today.
I did. I
and
spoke
he's,
to him.
according to
So good, such a good dude.
Twitter.
He's great. He's a great guy, and he's doing a wonderful job.
Still
From
meeting
Brazil.
with his
Spoke to him this
supporters,
morning.
He called from Brazil. You'd think he'd normally be traveling.
Them.
He's usually at one of his concubine camps in Indonesia.
So what
And
is your
just a
assessment?
very
Just a regular call. I was like, hey, bro, What's going on?
Complimentary call. He's working very hard.
He's working hard. I'm working hard. We're all working hard. I was like, bro, I need to talk to somebody who asks me good questions.
got a problem with the virus, got a big problem, and we talked about it today at length. We had a call this morning, and Brazil is shut down, as you know. They weren't going to shut it down, but they had to. So Brazil is shut down. The world is shut down.
Uh-oh. Breaking news.
Nobody's ever seen anything like this. The
Nobody?
entire world is shut down.
Well,
You go from having the most powerful
Turkmenistan isn't.
economy in the world and from other countries that are doing well to being everything is shut down. It's very sad, but we're going to get it going, and we're going to be stronger than ever. I really believe that. We're going to be stronger. We're going to have a big bounce, a very big bounce.
Be stronger together. I just made that phrase up.
Bounce when this is gone.
Big bounce. Leave on the big bounce.
And I just want to thank the American people. I want to thank these great professionals, and I want to thank the media, because really, for the most part, the media has been very fair.
You could have walked out on, we don't want people to die and there's sick people on the boat and you just want to save them no matter where they're from. Would have been a nice ending. Could have dovetailed this up, but you didn't. You had to go in and about the economy.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Bye. See you later. Deck, please. Don't touch him. Yeah, don't touch him. Don't touch anybody. Burks is keeping her distance. Super fun, guys. Well, thanks for joining me. This was like a twofer. I'm up next. I'm going to be joining my buddy Psycho Steve on his broadcast. I will tweet out a link as I have it, but I've got to set up all my Skype stuff now for that. It's just a day of streaming like crazy. So thanks to all our patrons for making this possible. You guys are the reason this works. I appreciate you guys more than you know. Thanks for all the super chats today, and our regulars for joining us. You guys are fantastic. And I will see you guys later on. I'll be gaming tonight on Twitch, and then Friday, 7 o'clock, to help out Flappers, I'm doing a live stand-up show from my own place. I'm gonna set up a little a brick wall and turn make a fake stand-up set in my house and do a show for everybody to just kind of help people take their minds off of stuff. I gotta see. I think I have a where is it? Hold on. I should get this in here. Hold on one second. They sent me a picture. I'll find it. I'll put it up there, whatever. But they, the lovely folks at Flappers sent me a picture that I'll be able to, looks like the Flappers stage. I'm going to put that behind me and do a show. So if you want to join me, that'd be great. They're selling tickets on their website. I don't know what it'll be like as far as me airing it on my Patreon site. I think I'll probably be able to do that too, if that's cool. But they're trying to, keep their staff from being completely screwed. So I'm just helping them out. I'm also going to be doing free shows there the rest of the year. I'm going to do like 4 of them where they can charge ticket price, but I'm not going to actually charge them anything to perform. I'll just do it for free so that they can get back on their feet. And, the waiters, waitresses, all the people who work there who are awesome, just sweet people, see them all the time when I do my shows, help them get back on their feet when all this is done. So anyways, that's coming up. I'll see you guys in a little bit. Okay, bye. Bye. See you later. Have a great one. Cheers. I gotta click on this. Bye.